only show that fascists can't make start on time. Hi, everyone. How's it going?
We can't be consistent to save our lives.
I feel like the fucking news is like really piling up these days. It seems like things are picking up.
It's crazy out there, dude.
New things keep happening. Yeah. What's going on?
What's going on? Is that your Tucker impression?
What is happening? Every day I turn on the TV and there's a new thing. Used to be that nothing new happened.
Can we start with maybe the most corrupting a president has ever done ever?
I think we can do that.
Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Guess.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Wait, yeah, which thing?
You're talking about a sitting alleged president of the United States suing his own government.
I am talking about that, yeah.
Deciding to settle with said government on both sides of the V as plaintiff and defendant for $1.7+ billion that he and his cronies and insurrectionists are going to profit from. That must be what you're talking about.
There's more to it too, though.
There is.
So there's like a board of people that are in charge of dispersing the cash, and Donald Trump has, as part of the settlement, reserves the right to fire any of them for no cause whatsoever. And on top of that, they've agreed to stop any ongoing IRS audits into him or his businesses.
Of course.
And I think his kids and their businesses.
Well, that's only fair.
I think it means like forever. Am I wrong about that? Did I get that wrong? Yeah.
Didn't they get around a judge ruling on it too by dropping like something? I didn't catch that. Did you catch that?
Yeah, so there's some procedural fuckery. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. So one procedural fuckery they're doing is they're just dismissing the case, and the judge doesn't have like a lot of discretion to like not let that happen. It's unlike in the criminal context. I don't know if you remember what happened with former Mayor Eric Adams, where there was this big kerfuffle about dropping the case because that was a criminal case. You actually need to have permission from the court to do it. But here, a lot more discretion to the person bringing the plaintiff, who of course is Trump himself. So that's one aspect of it, which is like, it's unclear who would have the ability to sue or come to a decision on it. I know that there's like some Democratic representatives who I think are trying to file a lawsuit, but it's pretty out there, blatant corruption. And just to let you know, this was in like the same time period where Trump himself in his personal capacity is like directly buying NVIDIA stock after his government is doing like, or before his government announces some like pro NVIDIA action on a merger. So pretty corrupt.
Guys, maybe I'm confused on this, but is this just happen to be similar figures? I was aware that they were suing the IRS, but also is there not this fund? Is this where the fund money is coming from, where he's paying out allies and the January 6 people, or is that
it's
completely
just taxpayer money?
This is like, yes, directly taxpayer money. At a time, you have to think about it, right? Like he is net, what do you want to say? -45, -50 on the economy, something crazy like that, something like pretty historical. And while everyone is pissed at him and while everyone is pissed about prices, he's essentially giving himself like a $1.7 billion slush fund. Yeah. And of course, unitary executive, as Hutch mentioned, how wouldn't he have the control over who's in charge of, the trustee or whatever?
But also, there was reporting this week that he is doing a shitload of stock trading as president. And I think he's made $750 million just in the first quarter. Am I getting that part of the story right?
Lucky guy.
I think he does.
It's pretty lucky, yeah.
I just straight up think he does not give a flying fuck about public approval. He is just like pilfering this country for every fucking penny he can while he's still in office.
Why not?
Just like,
I'm not surprised. I said it on election night. These guys are going to rob the place blind. They're going to take everything that's not bolted to the floor, and that's going to be the biggest thing they accomplish. Everything else is a side project.
Well, as funny as it was, I think you kind of got wind of this when he's on the plane talking about how he's not going to go to heaven. And he's like, oh, wait, this guy's not running for a third term, even if he could. He thinks he's going to die soon. So
his hand, the Horcrux is spreading, guys. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the hand's not looking so good. And dude is just now falling asleep every single day on the regular. I think we're doing like a live sleep counter, and he's like, I think already exceeded Biden where he was at this point. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but his health is, let's just say, not in the best shape right now.
Yeah, if he dies
significantly
before
balding.
Biden, that'll be such a big W for Biden, being like, you said all this shit about my health, but look at me.
True.
Still kicking it. Still mentally able to think.
I think this story about him plundering the treasury to give himself and his criminal friends nearly $2 billion. I think this has like a potential to be like a really big story going into the midterms.
I hope so.
There's a narrative forming out there right now, and like all the Democrats are running on it. Laksha talked about it a bit when he was on, about how like one of the pillars of the Democrats' attacks needs to be corruption.
Yeah, but that didn't work for pardoning all the Jan 6 people. Why the hell would it work for paying the Jan 6
How do we know
people?
it didn't work? That was at the beginning, Soy Pill. But no, I think that there is something, for whatever worth it is, about like the money aspect to it that like just shocks the conscious more. I don't know what you think about that, guy.
Yeah, insider trading and stuff like that really pisses people off because it's like unfair advantage.
No, but he's taking $2 billion of taxpayer money and just giving it to himself and his friends. It's crazy. I mean, it's really insane.
And here's the thing: he's still got 2.5 years left, Hutch. If he's willing to do this right now, imagine what he's willing to do as he gets closer and closer to leaving.
Yeah,
he's gonna like sneak some ICBMs out like to Mar-a-Lago or something, and be like, I own these now.
Like the documents, like in his bathroom.
Yeah,
I'm allowed to do it. I'm allowed to keep whatever.
No, dude, this is a wild ride, man, and it's not going to get any smoother. We got to strap in and just make it. That's it.
Well, I mean,
it is always important. Oh, go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say, I don't think the Democrats should do what they did last time, which is like they took the majority in 2019. They didn't initiate impeachment proceedings until the Ukraine stuff popped off. And I want to say August. I think like literally day one, as soon as they're handed the gavel, just start initiate impeachment investigations, inquiries about the looting the treasury for this fucking crazy settlement. And then the insider trading is just like so fucking blatant. It's just unbelievable.
It is important though, when our favorite quote unquote alleged corrupt family member insider Hunter Biden is doing a little bit of an interview with Candace Owens, it's important, again, always to take into consideration that we shouldn't be normalizing the level of depravity and corruption that's existing now, and that every day there's something that drops from the administration that is more corrupt than the worst allegations against Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. I mean, what we're talking about here, just like in a week, the stock trading announcement came out about NVIDIA, what's going on with this like slush fund, and even more and more insider trades
that correspond with the Iran stuff is fucking insane, man.
So we can never lose sight of that. And that's, I don't know if we should go into the next story. I mean, that is why I just think corruption is such a hard line for me, and why I don't really tolerate any tolerance of it from Republicans or Democrats.
Yeah, 60 Minutes did a piece last night on the insider trading, and it was awesome. I recommend everybody check it out. It's on YouTube.
It's astonishing. It's really shocking. It's like shocking.
And meanwhile, the other, I think, really wonderful contrast is J.D. Vance, right? Because he doesn't know what else to do with his fucking life. He's seems to have been more marginalized in the foreign policy conversations. He's the fraud czar. And so every day this Joker is over here posting about like different frauds they found or how easy it is to find fraud. All the while, it's like having, I don't know, the Hamburglar behind him, like an endless series of Hamburglars just going out with American taxpayer money. And I think that's a wonderful contrast as well if J.D. Vance is planning, has any presidential ambition, which of course he does.
He was asked about it, actually. Where's the private chat there? There's a clip that just popped up on the feed an hour ago. You want to put that on the screen?
The great thing is Trump is not loyal to Vance. You saw it with Lauren Boebert. You saw it with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And that's what I love, because I just know that at some point Vance is going to piss Trump off.
All right. Watching this? You guys hear it?
Yeah.
Yep. The Justice Department has this new fund that was announced today, $1.7 billion.
Yeah.
Why should taxpayers pay for the January 6th?
Well, it's been very well received, I have to tell you. I know very well about it. I wasn't involved in the whole creation of it and the negotiation. But this is reimbursing people that were horribly treated. It's anti-weaponization. They've been weaponized. They've been, in some cases, imprisoned wrongly. They paid legal fees that they didn't have. They've gone bankrupt. Their lives have been destroyed. And they turn out to be right. I mean, it was a terrible period of time in the history of our country.
There's Mark Cuban just inching off screen.
They've been working on it very hard. There's been numerous other occasions.
What's up with RFK?
Where things like this have been done, but these were people that were weaponized and really treated brutally by a system that was so corrupt, with corrupt people running it, and they're getting reimbursed for their legal fees and the other things that they had to suffer. Yeah, please.
Is it really going for January 6th, people?
Yeah, that's like why I knew about it.
I thought it was like for his, like literally for his friends or whatever.
It's both. It's all of the above. January 6th people. It's going to like the people investigated under the Russia collusion stuff. It's going to like his friends. It's literally that's why it's like insane.
We're paying people for
insurrect the government. Like that's what we're doing right now.
I don't know if I am like white hot on the inside. I don't know if I've ever been like this, like filled with rage for like the idea of. So he's gonna give Jan Sixers like what, like millions of dollars? Like what? How much are they?
I'm gonna lose their legal fees.
I might lose.
Their lives have been ruined.
Jail, but
well, Hutch, I actually now want to make the connection clear to one of the topics that we have to talk about today, and that's Jared Polis, because I carry that rage and that fury, and it's kind of related to the conversations that we had like some months ago, Hutch, about like keeping. In a democratic post-Trump world, keeping the administration accountable, keeping them like actually, put them in jail when we can, actually targeting them, actually having punishment and judgment. It really does seem to me that the few methods that exist that are known to be viable are state prosecution and state actions, right? And in that context, when Trump is basically doing an attack on our overall system, he's imprisoning people for First Amendment violations, and he's stealing from the government. In that context, for a Democratic governor
Pisco, before we get into this, Orbiter of the show wants to ask you, because it says, update, Judge Williams has officially dismissed Trump versus IRS. So does that mean that the Dem motion for Williams to try to block the $1.7 billion is now tossed too? Legal expert Pisco, can you comment on Josiah's question?
Okay, so this is me just going off of Josiah's super chat. And so
Josiah
if the order of operations, right? If the order of operations is the case is dismissed, then the case is dead. The case is dismissed, all right? And so any motion under the case, I mean, it's just moot. That's my like initial Civ Pro reading of it. I could be wrong, but going off of that information, I would think it would be moot.
Okay, so hopefully.
And you would need to find some other person with standing or something. Here's the problem, though. And this is why it's an ingenious plan. Really, it is in some ways. There's like limits on taxpayer standing in Article 3. Like you would think just a random taxpayer, right? You're able to sue the government because anytime your funds are being like funds that you would pay into are being spent in an illegal way, wouldn't you have an injury to sue the government? But the courts have made it clear that like you don't have just regular taxpayer standing. So I'm not sure who's going to be able to sue to stop this, which makes it scary.
It is scary. And before we get into the Polis stuff, I mean, like, can we give the background a little bit of like really what happened here? Because I had heard of this, and maybe you guys can provide extra context. But like looking and reading the story the past couple of days, it looks like this woman essentially bought into the election lie stuff. Literally did like the most corrupt stuff that they're accusing Democrats of doing, which is go in, switch off the security cameras, and have someone illegally acquire hard drives from voting machines.
Mike Lindell.
And work with the MyPillow guy. And this is the county clerk, right, of the Colorado.
This is the Mesa County clerk. That's right.
Right, of Mesa County. So she's stealing election data. She's committing election fraud, essentially, and fabricating like this 2020 election stolen lie, and gets accused of multiple felonies of trying to like mislead the public and like fabricate all this evidence. Goes to jail for what, 9 years? I think was her sentence. And now
sentence for 9 years. Yep.
Jared Polis, the Democratic governor of Colorado, Democratic governor, is saying, no, I'm gonna commute your sentence to what, 2 years?
I think 4.5 or something. She's slated for release in June.
She will have served 2 years, and then she'll be on probation for like 2 years. So he's calling it like a 4-year sentence.
Why is he doing this? And also, why did we, because I didn't know about this a couple weeks ago, why the fuck didn't we shit on Tim Miller for saying he wants Jared Polis as like
I think I said something. Yeah, I said something.
I wish I had known all of this at the time.
You can see me holding my tongue when he says, "Yeah,
you fucked out, Pisco." I would have yelled at him.
No, I think I did say something later on in the show, but it's really important to see, because I think Polis is being openly deceptive about this. First off, it's in like, get some of the groundwork here. Colorado has been specifically targeted by the federal government and not given access to like federal funds. So Trump is purposely extorting Colorado. And one of the things that he has sort of conditioned this on is the release of Tina Peters, because before Trump tried to like ineffectually pardon her for her state crimes with a federal pardon. So just take a note of that. So number one, you have the context of federal pressure on Colorado and the optics of the Democratic governor bending to federal pressure and giving Trump what he wants vis-a-vis one of the only viable methods of holding Trumpers accountable, given the corruption of the federal government. That is to say, to remove the effect of a state prosecution. I'll pause there for you guys to sort of come in, but there's more, right?
I don't want to defend it, but at the same time, we just saw California have $1.3 billion in Medicaid funding temporarily paused at the very least because of Trump's ire. And so maybe he's trying to just help his constituents. If I play devil's advocate, maybe he loses $1 billion in Medicaid funding. That hurts a lot of people,
That's a fair devil's advocate, but Guy, can we get you to shit on a Dem and say, fuck this guy for pardoning this
that's not the point.
Stealing piece of shit?
I struggle to defend him. All I can do is give why he did it. And he actually gave pretty good explanation. He thought it was an excessive sentence in that her words were used against her outside of the case. And he's trying to be some sort of free speech warrior or something. Honestly, I don't know what the reasoning is, but everybody came out against it, including the attorney general of the state and the secretary,
including the commutation board, which gives recommendations for them. Yeah.
Well, do you think 9 years is excessive for trying to fabricate, evidence that you stole the election?
When you're the only person in prison in the entire nation for Trump's 2020 lies, even though it wasn't directly related to that, it was a 2021 municipal election, but she still did it to try to prove Trump's 2020 lies. I think you got to make an example of that person, and her word should count against her. So, if somebody shows up to court after doing something bad and they say, fuck everybody in here, I'd do it again tomorrow.
I want to hear what Hutch has to say, but I just want to, I agree with you that you have to make an example of her. But even beyond that, I don't agree with the First Amendment rationale. If I agree with the First Amendment rationale, I might think differently. I don't agree with the appeals court and the decision right there. The reason is, and it's the same reason why I think Polis is being deceptive when he says there's no connection between 2020 and this, is of course there is. There's number one, the connection in the motive, which you already spelled out. The motive is related to 2020. And that, of course, is wagging the whole dog here. And so just like you would, for example, under the First Amendment test, be able to consider whether or not you're likely to repeat again based on your motive, right? If someone is doing a crime based on race and they continue to profess racist beliefs afterwards, we have case law that says you're allowed to consider that as a judge. So this is a normal thing, in my opinion, for the court to consider. But even if you don't agree with that, he interfered in the process of the trial court doing the resentencing, right? So the appeals court said, go resentence. And instead of letting the trial court do that, he stepped in the way and didn't let the trial court fix the alleged error.
He has a right to do it. Wait, though, right?
I know that he does, but we're just talking about, I'm not disputing that he has the authority to do it. I'm saying that the use of that authority is not justified. The last thing I'll say, and I want to hear from Hutch, is this is all connected, right? What did Trump need to try to do the fake elector coup? What is the fake elector coup? The fake elector coup is ballot stuffing, right? Ballot stuffing. The real votes for the president are the electoral votes. He tried to put in fake ballots and take out real ballots. And to do that, he needed people on the inside. Mike Pence, congressional Republicans, and then ultimately the insurrectionist thugs that stormed the Capitol. And so she is part of that. She is an inside actor working from the inside to try to help steal elections in favor of Trump, and she should not have been commuted.
If you're
by the way, she is getting some of the money from the slush fund. Sorry,
I'm sure she is, and she's unrepentant too. I mean, it was so preposterous to see Polis come out with a written statement to be like, and for where she's like, I guess I'm sorry about something. I don't know. I guess I lied to someone. And It was the first time we've ever heard even the slightest word of contrition. I don't believe it. And she's back to retweeting how she's completely vindicated and all that stuff. It's a disgrace, man. It's a total disgrace.
Collins. It's like, he's learned his lesson.
Pisco, she said in her written statement that she misled the Secretary of State and she will continue to follow the rule of law.
It's a joke and everyone knows it. And for Jared Polis, here's the thing, right?
But let me challenge you, Pisco.
Yeah.
Can you steel man Polis's argument? What would you say?
I will try. Yeah, I will try, and I'll tell you why I'll reject it. And this is what he didn't say. I am bound by the principles of just prosecution and the First Amendment to do this commutation. It is my duty. And given that it's my duty, even though it's unpopular, I have to respect our rule of law and our institutions, and especially the First Amendment. Here's why, number one, I don't believe it, because I don't believe the substance of it. But number two, he was asked a question. He was asked, are you concerned about the future of democracy? Are you concerned about future attempts to corrupt elections? And rather than answer that question, right? Rather than say, I was bound, but yes, I'm concerned. Rather than give one statement saying, yes, I am aware that this person may be a repeat offender. I am scared about or I'm concerned, you don't have to say scared, about a future corrupted election. And to actually give voice to what so many people are feeling, what Ossoff and other candidates are rallying the base behind, he doesn't. He just double and triples down and doesn't even give the slightest word of recognition for the corrupting influence on our elections from MAGA. That's why I don't believe him.
So why do it?
I think it was because he's making a bid for his next play, which could be to run for president, or because he wants to stop this pressure from the federal government. Either one, I think, is unjustified rationale.
You don't think it'd be noble to do it to save lives in Colorado and billions of dollars?
Even if he's going to do it like that guy, he needs to at least do it in a way that pays lip service to the fight that we're having with this, pressure from the federal government, which is, hey guys, my hand is forced and I don't want to put people, in this tough spot, but this is unacceptable. And in no world do I think this person deserves to be commuted. But instead, it's almost like he looks like he's bending the knee to Trump.
And also he did it in a weird way, a little sneaky. He commuted the sentences of some other people, and he locked her in with that. And he's like, look at this guy who was like 19 years old when he was an accessory to murder.
Like it's random, guy. Like it's random. Like he was just looking through all the disparate sentences, this was the one nonviolent disparate sentence that he picked out of a hat, right? And no one believes it.
And he included a letter explaining each and one of these people would be a productive member of society moving forward. They'd be a benefit to have, except for her. He didn't do that in her letter. Oh, man.
Which is worse? Is it worse that this would be a cynical play for a presidential bid, or would it be worse to bend to extortion?
I'm sorry to dominate, but I'm so fascinated by this. But I just there's got to be something behind it, and either it's just blatant corruption to win over Trump and get in his good graces, because there's no shot you win president on this bullshit First Amendment, piss off the Democratic Party and everybody in it. I just don't get it. So I'm just trying to understand.
You get the Tim Miller constituency. So
I really don't think
let's get Hutch in here. Let's get Hutch in here.
No disrespect to Tim Miller. Yeah.
I'm disrespecting Tim Miller for his choices. I explicitly clip this. Tim Miller, you fucking idiot. You'd think Jared Polis would be a good president? Fucking shut up. All right, go ahead.
I mean, the January 6th thing for me was without a doubt Trump's worst betrayal. And it's just like one of the most disgusting things I've ever witnessed as an American. I covered it live. It's like one of the things that sucks the most about his reelection is that so many people just saw that. And I just can't explain that at all. It's just hard to make sense of that. And so any person who gets any kind of leniency for all of that thing is of course infuriating. As for Polis, he is gone in January. As I understand, he's termed out. And so, I don't know what we're supposed to do about that. You can call for him to resign. It seems unlikely. And, but yeah, no, that sucks. But this thing, I struggle with the scale of what we're talking about with Trump looting the treasury for $2 billion. And then giving it to people that beat the fuck out of cops, which, by the way, he confirmed the second clip I just put in the private chat.
Yeah.
Somebody asked him, should people who did violence against police officers get compensation? He said, yeah.
Of course.
Well, the
police officers escalating, right?
I don't know if it was a slip of the tongue here, but
we were told by Vance that there would be like no violent offenders part on Jan 6, and now we're at the point where it's like, okay, yes, violent offenders will get paid by U.S. taxpayers for what they did.
Wait, play that clip.
Yeah,
it's not playing. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, it's not playing.
Am I not? I'm sharing it. It's playing. Sorry,
We can't see shit. It's just a freeze frame.
We can't see shit. All right, one second. Are you sure it's not just Trump being frozen?
Yeah, and the whole world's not frozen too.
Nope.
No.
Well, now.
Busted.
Nah, I busted.
Well, whatever. He's asked if people who committed violence against police officers should be entitled to compensation. He says, yeah, it'll be all be dependent on a fucking committee.
He's giving money from middle-class people, from corporations, from a bunch of other people after he did massive tax cuts to like Proud Boys and to people who did seditious conspiracy, which he let out of jail.
That's pretty radicalizing.
Look,
that's pretty radicalizing.
I don't want to hate on any of my fellow Dems. So I'm not trying to like rationalize or excuse what he's doing. I'm just looking for I'm poking, I'm looking for reasons, you know, like even serial killers think they're doing stuff for the good of the world, you know, like
why give them that grace? Just because they're Dems, guy? Can't we just, when someone does something shitty, can't we finally just be like, fuck the team sports? This guy
he's an idiosyncratic, like libertarian type Democrat who, you know, like I haven't been a big fan of his. And he's termed out. He's going to be gone in January. I mean, yeah, it sucks that he did that. I don't agree. I don't like it. But, you know, he's out of here.
For me, the reason why I've like been so outraged about it on Twitter is it's like a sign to me. It's not that the thing itself is the most important. At the end of the day, Tina Peters is one person, right? But it's the kind of thing that we need to be inoculated against in the Democratic Party. I'm willing to budge on a lot in terms of policy.
He's such a this guy's such an outlier. Who the fuck? What Democrat has done?
Oh no. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to say that he's a sign of like how the Democrats are. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. What I'm trying to say is that it is an example of what Democrats should be inoculated against, and we should use this as a rallying cry, I think, to promote one area where there should be like no deviation, and that is on accountability and punishment for what we're seeing. I can't deal that away.
Our own party. This is what the standard should be. If someone steps out of line and does this bullshit, we're kicking them out, and we're going to do the same to Republicans if we get, you know, the majority.
This is worse to me than Fetterman stuff. This is worse to me than Fetterman stuff.
I agree. I agree. But we are going to fuck them up. Like when we take these majorities, and I feel really good about these majorities. We are going to, like, the Democrats are going to move aggressively right away, and you know, hopefully that'll help with a lot of the vibes that are going on out there.
But the candidates need to know that we care. That's why I'm speaking out, is because the candidates need to know that we care. And if we don't say anything, if we don't speak out, I don't know that they'll get. And you know what? The response has been good. The response has been good, and I appreciate that.
Listen, I think Democrats right now, I think they're all looking at the same polls. I think they know that the Democratic Party base right now is basically like feral and, you know, like wants their pound of flesh. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but Kamala Harris just this last week came out and was talking about like
super based,
no bad ideas.
She went to top 5 for me.
Rid of the electoral college and, you know, reforming the way that we apportion house seats and stuff like that. So she's, you know, like she's the front runner. So like they know where the base is at.
With just that one statement where she didn't commit to anything in specific, but she's hinting at it, and she chose to hint at it. She has risen to a top 5 candidate for me because of how important that issue is, because that it's necessary for accountability. And I want to reward candidates who focus on that.
I'm telling you, open carry Kamala with signs that say "I fucking told you" is gonna bring a different sort of heat. And I know everybody groans, "Oh, not Kamala!" But come on, you gotta have some imagination here. She's not gonna bring the same coconut pilled bullshit.
Make peace with it now, because
yes,
I think she's.
I will put.
Gonna be
I think she's running for sure, and I'm just saying
she's gonna win. I think she's probably gonna win.
Oh really?
Oh
yes, I do.
You're calling it now? 2.5 years ahead?
Is this an official Hutch call, or is this initial?
I just
lock it in. Wait, Hutch, you like gambling, right? Let's gamble.
Do not
on this. I think Gavin Newsom has a hard cap. I think he kind of embodies the caricature of a smug coastal elite a little too perfectly, and I just think that's going to limit him in the primaries. And I just don't think that right now. I mean, listen, I reserve the right to change my opinion, but I just who else can possibly like run away with this thing? It's just hard to see. It's just like hard to see a path for like AOC or Ossoff or Kelly.
Our boy Mike is really pushing Ossoff, really pushing him.
It's early right now. We don't know what the issues will be. It could change in the next 2.5 years. So somebody may fit the moment, you know?
It could change. I reserve the right to change my opinion.
Who comes up with the platform of lock Jared Polis up for 20 years? They got my endorsement.
I added him so he should come on our podcast and explain why he's not resigning. Sorry.
I appreciate what Hutch, not giving you a hard time, Pisco, but just like checking the criticism in general, because I think what we're going to see a lot more of moving forward is both sides, because these MAGA Trump supporters, they don't want to admit they were wrong. They don't want to join us on the left. They want to say, oh, they're all corrupt. They're all liars. They're all shitheads. And so you're going to see this sort of like, I think, rising chorus of both sides. And I think it's important, like Hutch said, that we differentiate ourselves even when we criticize our side, saying this isn't who we are. This is a rare instance.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I would still vote for Jared Polis over any Republican. I mean, I would vote for Jared Polis over Thomas Massey. I would vote for Jared Polis over my probably favorite Republican that I can't even think right now, who is like a principled Republican left in the national stage or in the state stage. So I'm not saying that like this would fundamentally change the calculus. I would begrudgingly endorse Jared Polis if he became the nominee. But I will say I am not going to endorse a Democratic candidate for president who does not commit to large amounts of structural reform and accountability. Those are my top issues. And so that's why I appreciate so much Kamala raising it, right? And unlike other Democratic candidates who I feel sometimes will shy away from those topics, she raised it, and that is a big difference, and one that I'm excited about, and I really am excited also by the polls. I mean, Hutch, you must have had like an aneurysm when you saw that New York Times Siena poll.
It's not at all surprising for anyone who's been paying attention to the trajectory of this administration. It's been obvious for a while that that there's a mad king at the helm of the ship, and the rest of the Republican Party are completely beholden to him. We saw Cassidy; he's like this longtime senator from, where's he from? Mississippi.
Louisiana.
You know, he dared to vote to impeach Donald Trump in 2020 or 2021, and now he's out of here. And it's just like none of them. And it's funny because like none of the Republicans that maybe want to run in 2028, none of them know what to do right now. They're all in a holding pattern because you know they're waiting for Trump to see if he's going to try to run for a third term or endorse Don Jr. And so, you know, like he's fucking the party logistically, but he's also just like fucking the party optically. And what's emerging right now within the electorate, I think what's happening is we are shaping up towards one of those rare moments where the Democrats can win with such a big mandate that they can do big things. Like this is starting to feel like 2006 vibes where we can actually build like a big enough coalition to maybe even get to 60 votes in the Senate, but at the very minimum, get rid of the filibuster and do big structural reforms. And, you know, that was not 2021. When Biden was inaugurated, he did not have that kind of mandate, and he got done what he could get done. I think 2029 is shaping up to be something much, much bigger than that. Something like transformational, maybe.
Well, before we get to 2029, we got to get through 2027 and 2028. That brings me, I don't know if you guys want to shift, but to the California governor's race. You guys want to weigh in on that? We were kind of talking about that, but I think it's interesting. Like, there's no clear front runner, though. That last debate, they were all going after Becerra, so he seems to be the man to beat right now.
Polls have him in the front by a significant margin, no?
Not the maybe some new ones, but I saw it's neck and neck between him.
Yeah, I feel like every poll I see, it's like either there's one person like slightly ahead or something. I could be wrong about that.
No, you're right.
No one wowed me really at the only debate I watched. I felt like Becerra didn't really have very specific answers, but those are like debates, like almost who cares about that, right?
Apparently, Porter gave good answers on housing. I missed it, but apparently she gave some pretty good answers during the Ethan Klein, Jesus Christ, Ezra Klein roundtable that they did.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Becerra is like pretty clearly, you know, very strongly positioned for the Democrats. Did you see the story about Steyer this week where he's fucking paying influencers thousands of dollars to post nice things about him and they're not disclosing, which is basically the core story if it was real?
Wow. As little as $10 a post for some of them too.
Wait a second. Is that legal?
No.
Wait, what about that?
Wait, are you guys saying that a billionaire did something kind of corrupt?
He was paying
gain more power?
influencers. Like he had a budget of, I think, like over $100,000. He was paying influencers to like post nice things, but like for deliverables, to like post nice things about him and his campaign. And
yeah, but why
none of
isn't
them
that
were disclosing
legal?
it.
Or they're not reporting it to like the
They're not
FEC?
disclosing it.
Or do they have to for a state election?
If you get paid to do content, you have to disclose that. You have to say in the content or in the post, like sponsored or this is whatever. Like,
is that true for consumer protection law? I'm stupid. I feel
Yes.
so dumb. Oh, okay.
1,000%. Yes.
And to be clear, no one else here reached out to Tom and asked him to give us money to endorse
Give
him
us
on the
money,
podcast. Yeah.
We would have disclosed.
Because
right?
but we would have done it, right?
We would have disclosed. Well,
Depends how much money.
I don't know, man. Did he build
Everyone's
ice
got a
facilities? Is that true? Has
If
that
he
been
would offer you
proven?
$1 billion, you would have done that.
$1 billion to shill for Steyer? Only if I thought he would be good.
It would be unethical not to take $1 billion and do something.
I guess I would take the $1 billion and then I would give it all to our own insurrectionists.
Okay.
when we do our insurrection, then we can get the fund going. Yeah, it's a joke. It's a joke, guys. It's not real. No. But are you guys planning on endorsing, or are you kind of feeling it out still?
I'm kind of consolidating and saying it's probably Becerra at this point. I mean, Katie Porter, I like some of her policies, but like people have kind of sold me on the whole. Like she's not a great leader, especially with all her scandals.
You're Tom Steyer, that would hang up on me too. Yeah, you're talking about the
Tom Steyer is not really wowing me now that I've seen a little more of what he has to say, and this kind of stuff is not looking good. And then Becerra's got experience and he's got good policy, and it's hard for me to say no to that. It's like, yeah, what this seems fine. I mean, we did okay under a Schwarzenegger presidency. So a guy who is not as left as I am, but has a really good track record and does good work seems like a good pick. So
would this have been Kamala Harris's nomination if she wanted it?
Yes, she would have easily won.
Oh, she would have coasted. Nobody would have opposed her.
I saw Noah, who's like this young kid who interviews politicians. He's friends with her. He interviewed her and had like a little clip and asked her, "Why didn't you run?" And she was like, "It's not my calling. There's some other thing for me or something." So I don't know. It's kind of weird. I think she should have definitely ran.
Well, I mean, listen, if she wins the presidency, then that'll
Hutch's coconut build.
California is like a small, it's a pretty big country, it's like you're running some big shit. You have a big impact on the world, so
oh man,
you don't need to be president to do that.
She's scrappy though. I mean, people forget, but she's scrappy. And I think as soon as she said she wasn't running for governor, I think it was like really obvious that she was going to run for president again.
I'm voting for Becerra, but people can do whatever they want. I don't really do like endorsements, Pisco. I don't know if it matters or people care, but I just tell people who I'm voting for if I feel like it. But he's got the experience, and my argument is we're not going to get anything done. Like that 1.3 billion that Trump is putting on hold for California, it shows you the limits of what we can do. So like even if California were to set an example and pass stuff, like we could just have $1 billion yoinked from Trump. So I think we need a fighter for the next 2 years who can punch hard.
I was having dinner with a friend, like a mutual friend this weekend, and I asked them about like who they wanted for the primary, and we were talking about Newsom, and the person was like, "Yeah, I just don't like that Newsom hates trans people and vetoed single payer." And I was like, "Oh my fucking God, my personal life is melding with my work life here."
Damn.
Did they say where they heard that?
Get
TikTok, obviously.
Yeah.
Gavin, there's some really, Gavin did something great, balancing the budget along with Mamdani. Like they both balanced the budgets. And so that's a pretty impressive thing to take to the American people, I think, moving forward as the debt becomes a bigger talking point. And so pretty smart move by him. And maybe that'll resonate with your friend moving forward.
No.
Yeah, but Gavin's not running. Oh, he is running for president. My bad. I'm
president,
governor still. Yeah,
but now he'll have in his belt. He's got I balanced the budget the last year of as governor.
Do people even give a shit though? I mean, there's a part of me that wants to say that like no one cares about fiscal deficit shit. Sometimes like they claim they care, right? And people will pay lip service to it, but then you get the Republicans who make that like their priority number one in the Tea Party movement, and they just like continue spending insane amounts of money when they take office. Do people care about the fiscal stuff? Because at this point, it is starting to become a concern.
Literally, Democrats to every Democrat in the last 30 years has reduced the deficit on their watch. Every Republican has exploded it. Democrats are the ones that care.
I think what he's getting at, Hodge, is like, do people care? Like, does the voter really care how much money in a deficit we're at, or they just hammered in over and over? It's like, if their cost of living is not affected by deficit spending because we're using, MMT, or the deficit is, or the budget is balanced, like, this doesn't. They don't see this happening, really. Like, the effects might change, but like, they just hear the number. Oh, debt's going up. Like, the fact that people use debt as a talking point in elections is kind of silly, because the number being 5 trillion versus 20 trillion is pretty irrelevant to most people, and just
they don't even understand those numbers. Don't even. I mean, I don't even understand like $1 trillion. I think it's like beyond explanation. How, yes, yeah, we like can't understand those that magnitude a lot of the time. So no, I totally agree with that, and I don't know why people I think don't even understand the concept of deficit versus debt. It's just like numbers to say, and so yeah, no, but I appreciate that there are some bona fides that you can point to Gavin with. For me, one of the biggest ones was the gerrymandering leadership that he's shown, and I think he should be rewarded for that.
Well, I don't think you're going to win an election off balancing the budget. I agree with you guys, but the debt is going to become a bigger and bigger talking point, and it's one of those things that like every American understands. You don't spend more than you have, and so I think that's going to become more and more of a thing. And also with corruption, that plays into fiscal responsibility as well. So I think it'll be used by him well.
Can I do a quick little detour? We won't last a long time on it, for Supreme Court reform, kind of off that idea. So you just said, well, there is this kind of like intuitive notion that, well, we got to balance the budget just like you would a household. You don't spend more than you make. And that just resonates with people because of its like simplicity and common sense approach, even if like obviously sovereigns are different than households. For me, I'm about to do these, I think 2 debates on Supreme Court expansion. I already did one last week. You guys should check it out. And Josiah did one as well. And I think the more intuitive argument for people on the fence on Supreme Court expansion will be 13 circuits, 13 justices, more than like, no, what they did with Merrick Garland in 2015. I really do think that there's something about the symmetry of that argument and just like keeping things simple that appeal to people's minds more than like being correct.
Yeah, I think that's probably the cleanest way to make the argument. I mean, like what they were proposing in Virginia, for example. I mean, that was just never going to fly, I think, for the Virginia voters. They barely got that.
I would defend it if they did it, though. I would have defended it if they did it.
I would have supported it, but like, the measure to do the redistricting the way that they did barely passed. It was like 51 to 49%. And so they burned a lot of political capital getting that over the finish line. And so it was just really implausible that that same voter base would have been on board with, literally nuking the entire court. I did watch your debate with AJW, by the way, on Palumbo show.
Yeah, bro. Awesome. I mean, they just good. No, I really liked it because there is this like feeling that I think sometimes happens when Democrats like walk into a given debate on something like Supreme Court reform, where they kind of like fight from a scared position, or they fight like with they want to use as much words as possible from a defensive angle. And I just think that Democrats need to flip the script and go on offense. Well, hang on a second. Don't you believe in the basic retaliatory right of people? Like, this is self-defense. Don't you think that like if Republicans do a thing, Democrats should do it? And now they're in the position to be like, no, it's different because A, B, C, and you can just exploit any like difference that they have. And now you're on offense. I just think that there's many opportunities where Democrats, it's an issue where they feel like they should be on the back foot. Another one is like immigration. I think we talked about this before. Hutch, I forget what context that was in, but I think Democrats just need to go on offense more and not be afraid of being framed or characterized by the other side.
My whole thing was I think you have to affirm certain things. So like I thought, for example, that you could have made your point a little bit better, if we critique each other's debates.
Sure, yeah.
If you concede certain things, then I think that it has more credibility. Like the ultimate goal of like packing the court should be like court reform, like some kind of more democratic process.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
I think you should just concede that it is a race to the bottom. Like we are, if we commit to like packing the court, then that will, possibly irreparably harm the credibility of the court, which, it's not even great right now. I think approval for the court right now is like under 20%.
Well, that's just that's where an area where I just think that there's lack of clarity on like what people are saying when they say like the Supreme Court has no credibility. If what they mean by that is something like, well, people don't trust them. Well, we're not doing so well in the trust department. We're at like a net dip on the Supreme Court trusting factor. If by credibility they mean something else, like, do we agree with the court? Has the court been consistent? No, it hasn't. So it doesn't have credibility in that respect. So I think oftentimes terms like legitimacy, credibility, they're just begging the question, or they're just invoking a vague sense, a vague concept that isn't clear. And when you actually cash it out, like, oh, the Supreme Court will lose its legitimacy. The thing we're doing right now isn't working in terms of public perception of the court. How do we think it's going to do with respect to, like, I don't know, intellectual consistency with the court? I think it will improve it. And so once you get clarity on what is meant by these like kind of like vague, capacious terms, I think that work can be done. No, I think there are definitely points where I could have made the point a little bit better, but overall, I thought I made them squirm.
We should. I thought your arguments were compelling, for the record. But I'm just saying, like, I think we should pair, when we talk about court reform, we need to stress like our goal. Same with gerrymandering, like partisan redistricting. Like the goal of invoking these nuclear options should be to like galvanize public support for measures to reform these systems and to make them better, and to make which will ultimately lend more credibility to these institutions. If we just frame it like, because if we're talking about packing the court, that's not the nuclear option. That's like the Death Star option. I mean, that really is like full.
I take your point. Yeah,
race to the bottom. We should just acknowledge that and be like, but we want what we want from our Republican colleagues, and what we want for the American people is a better, more functional, more democratic, more apolitical court. That is our goal.
No,
so
I take your point. I think that in many respects, and I said this to my chat the other day, I feel like a conservative. I feel like there's this movement of groypers that like, and online righties that wants to destroy the system and doesn't even care about constitutionalism and like our framers or whatever. And then there's a group of like lefties who also want similar things, don't really care about rule of law, don't really care about institutions. And for whatever reason, in between these two different, I don't know, radical impulses of political thought today, I really do feel like the true conservative that wants a loyalist to the Republic trying to fight for the old guard. And so I'm a reformist in that sense. I'm not trying to like get rid of the structure. I actually think that expanding the court will improve the structures of our system. And if I didn't think that, I wouldn't support it.
Well, do I dare call you a centrist in that?
I think in a sense I'm a conservative in that sense, not in the social sense, not in the necessarily the economic sense, but in the institutional sense. I am at bottom an institutionalist, and I want to conserve the Republic. And so that's the way in which I'm not a radical.
The rot of these institutions right now, I think that's like a secondary problem. The root of the problem right now is that our politics in this country have just become completely dysfunctional, like a couple with irreconcilable differences. The hyperpolarization is what is driving the mass disillusionment of government. And of course, I mean, I'm biased, but I believe the Republicans have most of the responsibility for this dysfunction. But we also have to start thinking about an off-ramp for this polarization. Like, we have to start thinking about, like, how do we depolarize? This is not sustainable. Like, this can't go on
while we're not in power. Like, if we're trying to de-escalate before we actually stop the people who are doing it, I feel like we're already jumping the gun, and we might be shooting ourselves in the foot before we actually stop them.
I'm not saying de-escalate. I'm down for extreme measures.
Well, it sounds like you're not, though, right? Because you're like, hey, maybe we shouldn't run on packing the court. We should run on reforming the court. We shouldn't run on prosecuting people. We should run on accountability. And so, like, to me, the reason why I see those things as more dire and more important is because it's like, holy shit, these people don't give a fuck about any of these institutions. They're willing to break any of the rules, and we need to stop them no matter what. Maybe we don't need those drastic measures, but we should be telling people we're going to go the distance if we have to, and then we can reform stuff. And so if
these are just tactical differences here, but like you're talking about framing. I mean, the idea of like the creative prosecutions that we were talking about a couple months ago, this is just not going to happen. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it because it's not realistically going to happen. Democrats are not going to do that. And so
the state prosecutions could have happened though, and that's why I'm so pissed about Polis. And in Minnesota, you're seeing actually based action. I don't know if you guys saw this on the like they're charging an ICE officer with assault in Minnesota. So no, I just want to let him cook. That's why I'm so pissed when Democrat does spoil like a viable method of accountability, because we don't have that many, and we can't realistically do the ones that you're referencing, Hutch.
Well, state prosecutions are fine. Those are, as long as they're done properly and without political influence, then that's fine. But I feel like we lost the thread a little bit there. Like listen, I think every day I become a little bit more radicalized, like I was like 55-45 in favor of packing the court before. And now I'm like 75-25. I just acknowledge that the downsides are real. Like the stuff that Brad was talking about, that's real. I mean, it is a race to the bottom. And if we get rid of the filibuster and pack the court, we're not going to hold on to power forever. And so one way or another, it has to end with reform. Otherwise, we're going to have 1,000 Supreme Court justices. So
but Hutch, if it's a race to the bottom and the Republicans are like running the race and we're like, guys, this is a race to the bottom. And they're like, okay. And they keep going. Do we stop?
That's what I mean. There's a game theory about it where I try to raise this to Brad, which is like the worst of all possible worlds is a permanently skewed court one way. And that is to say, I'm not so sure that there's any articulable reason to think that this permanently skewed conservative court is good in the long run for anything. And certainly not so far in public perception of the court's quote unquote legitimacy. That's what I'm saying is like, yeah, no, I buy that things could happen that are bad if Democrats expand the court. I just view the probability of those things as lower than the alternative, which is to stay the course. Sometimes going off of the current course, there's a kind of like bias towards staying where you are, right? Like going with your the initial strategy or like staying the course. I'm not always sure that people's intuitions on that are the right move.
I am an accelerationist on this stuff, man. I think gerrymandering is a perfect example of how to fix it by going ham. And I'm glad to see the Democrats on board, like Hakeem Jeffries saying it's time for gloves off. I want to see districts drawn in Democratic controlled states that look like spiral galaxies, just taking every seat away from these Republicans until the American people are so disgusted. And that includes Republicans. We have to find a way to get Republicans so disgusted with the process, they'll join us and get rid of it. Same thing with the courts. We got to do it. We got to pack the court, let them pack the court. We pack the court. Next thing you know, it's 1,776 Supreme Court justices just duking it out in an arena at all times. Like, it's just so ridiculous. We have to do something.
No, you just described the most ideal outcome. Like the most ideal outcome is not only, structural reforms that address the problems that court packing are trying to address, but in a much like broader, more permanent way. The best ideal path is to get there with a consensus from the public, with buy-in from the actual voters. And like, I don't know how to do that. I think that there's a wrong way to pack the court and a wrong way to like frame it. I think it should be, and it's just like what you said with gerrymandering, like the goal of these aggressive gerrymanders is to say like, look, we're not going to unilaterally disarm, but there's a way to fix this. And we're going to go fucking ham until like we actually address this problem in a way.
We're going to get some 30-year-old fresh grads from Stanford Law School, from Columbia, from all these different places who are genetically predicted to live till they're 100. They're going to all be wokies. They're going to stay there forever.
Supreme Court.
Step number one is age limit for Supreme Court justice. I know it takes constitutional amendment. Can't do it with a congressional act. That has to be done. We're the only country in the world, I believe, that has this, you can live forever on the Supreme Court bullshit. And we got to get rid of it. It's
like a morbid game. Everyone's betting on someone to die, and it's like a death pool.
But people...
No, I agree with you,
Like, it divides us so much every time there's an opening because people know this guy's going to be on there for 30, 40 years. And we just can't have that. 18 years max. Period.
I'm actually surprised there haven't been more like assassination attempts on Supreme Court justices.
Whoa! First of all, there have been.
I'm
Lefty, hey, Lefty.
Kavanaugh,
hey,
come on.
Yeah, Brett Kavanaugh, come on.
Come on.
No, I know there have been. I just think it's crazy that it's like, when like there's been so many on presidents, and it's like, yeah, well, they're gone every 48 years. These guys are there for life, and I guess it's just like not salient with the public of like how much these people affect your life.
Yeah. True.
Don't do anything, Chad.
Do not. Yes.
That wasn't
Don't.
clear.
And
Jesus
we don't.
Christ. I was just.
We don't even
surprised.
play with that. We don't even play with that. But I do want to say though that makes the Senate of extra primary importance because we can breathe easy unless you have a federal. Sorry, we need to have a 1 Senate margin. I just realized Fetterman could fuck us over if there's a vacancy on the Supreme Court.
We're gonna win we're gonna take the Senate with fucking 52 seats. Mark my words. Watch. We are gonna run the fucking board, you guys. I don't even care. Plattner's a shitty candidate. Syed, I think, would be a weak candidate. They're both gonna win because like it's getting so profoundly bad. It's getting worse and worse and worse.
Wait,
and worse.
why do you think they're shitty candidates?
Plattner, I think, is a shitty candidate for obvious reasons. Syed,
the tattoo.
I think he's. I mean, policy-wise, I don't think he's shitty. I think he's obviously got some major character flaws and bad choices, but like he's not oh my god, I can't believe anyone would support. There's a reason he's popular. And like, what about Saeed? What's wrong with him?
Syed is it's similar problems with. He's not nearly as, I think, vulnerable as someone like Plattner, but I don't like the framing of like running as like I want a Democratic Senate that, like I want what Pisco wants. Like I want a functional Senate that's going to work together and get on the same page. And we talked about this on the stream the other day. And like maybe my fears are ill-founded because we've had some left-wing insurgent candidates over the last 6 years, but honestly, the party in Congress has been pretty fucking like unified against Trump. Like for the most part, they've been pretty good. Like Pelosi did a great job of, the squad. They were not like major obstructionists. They went along with a lot of Biden's, with all of Biden's bills, with a couple of exceptions. But
yeah, when we talked about it, Hutch, it is important to note, I think, that like the resistance can come from the center, but it can also come in left-wing clothing. And Fetterman, I think, perfectly encapsulates that, right? Because like here he had the more leftist populist clothing, but he was a more centrist type. And so I guess it depends what you consider the obstruction is coming from so far as Fetterman is concerned. Do you consider the fact that he's more centrist, or do you consider the fact that he ran as a populist to be dispositive on your choice for the election? But in general, though, I will.
Outlier. He's just kind of a weirdo. I don't know what kind of box to put him in, but
yeah. So when people tell me like they're afraid of like left-wing candidates, Bernie types being against the Democratic agenda, I'm just like looking for track records of that kind of shit, because it usually does seem that the lefties fold under the Pelosi thumb, and so maybe this is a different moment and they'll be more recalcitrant and they'll be more obstructionist. But I don't see. I think like AOC and these types are like dealers, and AOC, if she runs for the Senate, I think is likewise. She is going to be a dealer, and she's not going to be like a dead ender. But maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
I just, what concerns me is they frame the way they talk about pragmatic politics is they consider that to be compromise, which is bad. They think it's a virtue to be uncompromising. And so, for example, they'll frame the public option versus Medicare for all debate as a moral question. And if you think like a public option would be the smarter route because you think you can actually get the votes to do that, and maybe you would be on board with single payer, but in your mind you're like, I just don't think we can get the votes to do that. And so they view that like as weak, as ineffective, as complicit with like crony capitalism, or like feeding the insurance machine, or the
candidate themselves, or the discourse.
Their rhetoric, like Syed and Plattner, that's how they frame these kinds of things. And so like if you're in favor of a public option over Medicare for all, then they think that they frame that as like evil. And I just I don't care if you're super far left, just be pragmatic and
you don't want someone who goes in and throws grenades. You want someone to work with the team.
Yeah.
Well, sorry guys, my camera overheated because it's so hot here. That's why I'm so sweaty. But I do.
That's why I get pissed, by the way, when Democrats don't work with a team, even in these kind of like in these votes that are like signaling votes, when we're censuring Al Green, when we're condemning Kamala Harris, when I see Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez, it boils my blood on that shit. I mean, I'm glad that we agree on that stuff, and it's more important, obviously, when you have an agenda on the line, when it's not something that you can like affect. I get that for sure. But no, I'm with you there. So if you think that the other two candidates are going to be more team players, shouldn't one of them like drop out? Should Stevens drop out?
They're kind of fucked because they're polling so even, and so it's like, who do you?
Oh shit!
Somebody's got it. Like, I hope somebody and like, look, the polls. There's been, for the most part, like the polls.
Wait, Hutch, you don't want them to drop out. I'm gonna tell you why. What will be said if they drop out? If one of them drops out?
Oh God, they're gonna do the fucking super.
No,
Yes.
they consolidated.
Yes, because no.
Fuck that. They're like
They
they're
rat
gonna,
fuck.
they're gonna,
Centrist Voltron. Like,
listen, they're gonna cry about that, but
2020.
somebody needs to show real leadership in Michigan, and I don't know if
It's also not
Schumer.
clear where the votes go,
No.
right? Like if Stevens drops out or McMorrow drops out, like Syed's going to get some of that, right? So it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
clear
of course,
that.
of course,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be like 100% of those votes, but
Well,
but you know,
can I jump in here on this whole like they view compromise as a vice? I think the issue here is if you see the system is fundamentally broken and not working for everyone, then when you say, "Oh, the ACA was a compromise," even though that's the best we could get, the idea is that you should still always be shooting far past that and pushing the narrative in that direction. And if you're already aiming to compromise, you're starting off aiming to compromise, it is kind of a vice insofar as, well, I think we should always be pushing towards this thing that's actually going to solve the problem rather than this stopgap that's going to help people but not get us all the way there. And I actually really much sympathize with that narrative, even if it's like goes too far in a lot of cases. They're like, fuck AOC for working with these people, for actually trying to get stuff done. But that doesn't mean you give up the narrative in the first place, right?
Guy, you wanted to jump in a little bit.
Well, I want to give an example. Like people like Plattner will say, I wouldn't support Schumer as the leader, but he doesn't say who he would support, right? I don't like that bullshit where you're just negative. Like, I don't support this. I wouldn't do this. Like, okay, well then what are you proposing? Right? Like,
Chris
I think
Murphy.
that's okay, but then say it. I'd say I would put my support behind Chris Murphy. I don't like when people are just like, I'm a no. And I think that points to what Hutch was saying, that like these people are running on being people who drop grenades in the Senate and get celebrated for it. That's not what we want to send to Congress. We want people who are passionate, have big ideas, but want to work with the existing system and get shit done. And I when I hear Graham Plattner, I hear a lot of, the system's broken, it's screwing everybody. It's like, okay, well, what's your solution?
Well, do you think fundamentally AOC ran on that and has gotten to a place where you can say this is an effective populist that is able to capitalize on that frustration with the system, but also do things and get things done? Because
the Senate is a more august body. All right, it's an august body that needs more to court. No, I hear you, but he can develop. But it's a question, right? Whether Plattner will end up being a team player in the end or not, I think is what a guy is suggesting. I will note though, like I also want Schumer out of leadership, and so it's kind of a plus when you commit to that.
But
so does McMorrow.
You have an alternative at least where you're willing to talk about who you'd want to see take over. Most people are just like, Schumer sucks and Hakeem sucks. The weird thing with his hands all the time. It's like, all right, well then who do you think should run the chamber? It's like, I have no idea. There's got to be somebody. It's like,
you love the hand thing, don't you, Guy? You love it.
I think people criticize him for no reason on it.
To Soy Pill's point, like if single payer is your number one issue, right? Of course, I mean, like I could be persuaded on single payer, like I could buy into that. I'm not the kind of American you need to convince. But if single payer is your number one issue, I have no problem with someone who is constantly pushing for that, constantly trying to like move the needle, constantly trying to like build political power so that they can actually like start to get the votes for that kind of a thing. But anyone who is telling you that single payer is like on the table in the short run is just lying to you. And so when someone like Plattner and that kind of politics frame it as like a moral question, well, if you don't support Medicare for all, if you wouldn't be willing to vote for that, like in the Senate right now, or push for that over the public option, then you don't care about like the working class. Like that kind of framing to me it's like dishonest and divisive in a way that's so unnecessary. Like
you're free riding kind of, right? Because it's a popular policy among the base. Similar thing with like the billionaire tax.
It's the easy thing to do. It's like the easy thing to do to sit on the outside and just and talk about the way that things should be, but not have any kind of realistic path for how you want to accomplish the thing that you want to get done.
My pet issue for that one for Plattner is impeaching the Alito and Thomas. I just thought that was clearly base bait in a way that I thought was destructive. I wouldn't support those. I don't support the impeachment of those judges unless there's more evidence of it. I mean, fine, if you want to investigate, that's one thing. But it just there is a kind of like feeling I get sometimes when I know I'm being pandered to, when I think that the policy underlying it is kind of like sloppy-list garbage. Now, query whether Medicare for all is that. I mean, I think, Hutch, you're not saying that you're against it. You just think it's unrealistic or something. And what you have a problem with is the kind of like demonization of people who don't agree. Fair?
Yeah, they frame it as a moral question. And so like you could be pragmatic, so Medicare for all, like I don't really think Bernie's plan makes a lot of sense for America, but I like the idea of expanding Medicare for everybody. You know, like his idea of like banning duplicative insurance is like no other country does this. And it's just,
well, then isn't it a moral question then? I mean, I would agree with you that like if it's not realistic and if it's not going to like be implemented, then you shouldn't pursue it because it's not going to achieve the moral ends. But
no, it's not that you
isn't it a moral issue?
It's not that you shouldn't pursue it. You can pursue it, but just don't demonize people in the party that are,
fair enough,
are pragmatic about it. Like I think Obama was a very pragmatic guy. Like I think if he could have snapped his finger and done something like a single payer, I think he would have done that. But he understood that wasn't the Congress that he was working with at the time, and they got done what they could get done. And we came up a little bit short on a public option. It wasn't just Lieberman; there were a few other people. So it's like we weren't as close as people think. But and then they did that policy, and then 50 million people now have health insurance because of the ACA that didn't have insurance before.
Well, I might be putting you on the spot, but I got to ask, like, what are these people saying about centrist Democrats who are more pragmatic? What are they saying in such a way that is like, you're wrong for compromising? Or are they just criticizing for saying you're settling when you should be doing this and then pushing for more? Because I think those are very different things.
They do both. They think they use the word compromise and they mean it negatively. Like it is literally a bad word to them. And they see anyone who is pragmatic about their vote as that failing a moral question. And it's not like the people who favor a public option, the Democrats, they want universal health care. But there's like universal health care is an all-encompassing term. It could mean Medicare for all. It could mean the current system with the government filling in all the cracks and just getting as close to 100% coverage as you possibly can. We got up to 95% coverage under Biden, the most of any president ever. And I saw none of them, like these same people praising the Biden administration for reaching that level.
The candidates or the discourse lefties?
It's a little bit of both. Like I think like Plattner is definitely reflective of, and Syed, I think to a lesser degree. I think Syed is probably a little bit more reasonable than Plattner. Plattner is definitely like online lefty populist brain rot.
Is he doing the Vosh voice whenever he talks?
That's the Vosh voice.
When I was approached to run in Maine,
pretty good.
And I didn't watch my buddies. No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't.
Yeah. Hutch, let me ask you this. I mean, because this is my position. As someone who is, I'll look at the system and be like, this isn't good enough, right? We need to improve. And I think this is just a sentiment of Democrats in general. Obviously, the more left you go, the more you're going to be like, and this is why we got to overthrow capitalism. And then you go further left and it's further left. But ultimately, something needs to change. We're not where we need to be. If you look at the way that Democrats will rest on the laurels of accomplishments, which are good, which are incremental changes towards a better world, and you say, I'm frustrated that you seem to not be as frustrated as me. You seem to say, guys, look how great we did, instead of, guys, we didn't do nearly as much as we wanted to, and we need to do so much more, but it's good that we're on the right path.
But that's what Biden did. That's what Biden did, and it didn't matter. Like he ran on expanding the ACA, and he did. He massively expanded Medicaid subsidies with the ARP and the IRA. But to these people, the ones that I'm talking about, it's a part of a capitalist machine, and the machine itself is like evil and corrupt. And so, therefore, people who Biden was evil and corrupt for. It wasn't that he expanded healthcare. It was like he made the insurance executives richer. That's how they see it, and so it's hard to.
Because what you're looking at is Joe Biden did a thing that helped people in the short term, but ultimately is not going to get us where we need to go and might even be undone by a Republican in a few years. So I'm very frustrated that this is seen as like this huge win and not a minimal step in the right direction that is like one of 100 that we need to do, right?
I think it's that you're not seeing the constraints that like they're judging Biden at an impossible standard that he couldn't possibly like live to. That's the kind of feeling I'm getting from Hutch. Maybe I'm off there.
Yeah, and Obama. Yes, that's what they do. 100%.
We should celebrate our incrementalism, okay? I brought this up to Cenk when I debated him on Jubilee and said, you call it crumbs. I call what Democrats did with expanding the ACA subsidies, 12 million more people being able to afford health insurance and live a better life. He's like, it's crumbs. It's crumbs. I'm like, tell that to those 12 million people, man.
Well, yeah, but Guy, tell that to them now when they get kicked off, like a couple years later, right?
Okay, but But the point is, it's like, it's, you know, it's always moving the goalposts. Like in life, that's not how life works. Like if you go to the gym, Soy, and you put an inch on your biceps over 3 months, and I go, oh wow, let's get to 5 inches now. It's like, bro, I just put a fucking inch on my biceps. You know how hard that is?
I don't measure them, but
so,
I think
the Congress are elected by the voters. Okay, so like, what do you think Biden could have done more on healthcare that he didn't do?
No. This is a framing thing. This isn't a like, oh my God, Joe Biden. Like,
Think about this. If you're going to say you're mad at Biden, right?
No. I'm not mad at Biden. I'm not mad at Obama for not getting single payer, right?
He's trying to explain the sentiment. So you're trying to explain the sentiment.
Exactly, right? You look at the ACA and you look at what was promised and what we got, and it's like, okay, this, given all the constraints that Obama had, makes perfect sense. It might have been the best thing we could have gotten, given all the, pro anti-abortion Dems, given all the insurance companies, given all the compromises. It was insane that we even got what we got. However, if we tout this as this massive win and then say, look how good we did, it's like, aren't we the best? Instead of, everyone is still incredibly destitute at how bad this system works for all of us.
That's
we can
not
see
true,
these other
though.
countries that do it better.
What
and
you're
we
saying is not true,
moving
though.
towards that. What's not true?
The way you talk about everyone is destitute. What are you talking about? Like 40% of the country are on some kind of form of like government run healthcare between Medicare and Medicaid, and through the ACA.
What I'm saying, I'm not saying everyone is struggling because of healthcare. I'm saying that there is still a huge gap that has not been fixed. Tons of people are going bankrupt. People are not getting good coverage. There is so much room to improve, and to the sentiment of, look how good we did, instead of, this wasn't enough, we're going to do better, I think really frustrates a lot of the people who are still hurting.
That's not
in a populist moment with Luigi Mangioni's, and really that's fighting yesterday's battle in a way. I mean, we can Hutch, this is essentially the Vanguard conversation in a nutshell, and I'll grant you on like the facts of the matter. I think you have the better of the history and the constraints of Biden. I wish he would have been a little bit more combative, but at the end of the day, probably wouldn't have achieved much, overall in the picture. But can you understand that, like, at a time in which the country feels that the healthcare system is inadequate, that is their feeling, right? Whether or not it's true, whether or not it's like we're way better than we were, how do you propose that this, this feeling of not being vindicated vis-a-vis Obama or Biden translate itself into actual discourse? Or to the candidates, because
the things that you're describing are not mutually exclusive. You can both tout the accomplishments and affirm that we can do better. That's what Obama did. That's what Biden did. That's what Kamala ran on. That's what that's what like Pete Buttigieg ran on. Like, you don't need to.
System is broken.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, it's whatever. Populist language. It is what it is. But like, you don't need to, as a Democrat, run on, Obama and Biden and the Democrats of the past failed us. It's like, no, they didn't. They
Did Plattner say that?
No, I'm not saying Plattner said that personally. Although that wouldn't shock me, honestly. I would have to, if I went through his transcripts, that would be completely consistent with how he communicates, politics. But you don't need to, go back and retroactively villainize, like prior administrations for doing what they did.
It's not villainizing. It's not saying you did something wrong. It's saying
it is. Why are you doing this?
No, listen to this. Listen to me. Listen
to me. You're playing games right now.
Listen, I'm not playing games. Look, when you look at 2024, where the narrative was, look how good Joe Biden did. All that was true. We're not villainizing them for passing the CHIPS Act. We're not villainizing them for doing the Inflation Reduction Act, because those things are good. But when you look at those and you tell taxpayers, when you tell the voting constituency who is hurting in ways, or they see things badly, and say, look how good everything is, and they say, what the fuck are you talking about? We want it to be better. You can't just rest on these laurels. You have to push past that. You have to strive further. And there's so much of this narrative seems to be this complacency of, look at this, like, you can call it crumbs, you can call it, big strides forward, because they are good, but you can't just do that. You have to say, we're going to do so much better. That wasn't enough. You're right. We're fighting for you every single day, and we want to do 2 times as much, 5 times as much. It doesn't matter. It's not about over promising. It's about not pretending like everything's just going fine because you did a good job.
Who's doing that?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. I thought like the Bidenomics stuff, I was on record day one as saying, this is the fucking stupidest branding I've ever seen in my life. Like, why the fuck would you call?
I tried my best to embrace it. I tried.
we're doing better than the other G7 nations. It's just not a fucking winning economic message. And it's like, but when people think Bidenomics, they think of like more expensive groceries. I agree. Like that was like bad framing, but in the healthcare discussion specifically, like you don't have to say, like Obama, it was just Romney Care and he was just making the insurance companies more money.
Well, I'm not saying that.
Well, I'm talking about the people I'm talking about are the kinds of people that do that.
Okay. Well, I agree. Those people are stupid. If it's like, oh, look, all these people are just, it was all just part of this corporate, like fraud, and Obama bailed the banks out. And like, yeah, that shit's stupid to me. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is those people also come from a constituency of upset voters who are not having enough done for them, I think. And like, if I look and I say, I want to be more like Germany, I want to be more like the Nordic model, I'm smart enough to, parse through and say, yeah, of course, pragmatic people are going to, increment us there. But if you are trying to get people on board who are frustrated with the system, who are hurting, and you are saying everything's fine, and we're just going to do a little more stuff that can be undone.
Nobody's saying
that. No one is saying that, Soypel.
Not a person on earth that said that in office.
Okay, excuse me. Not everything is fine, but they're not pushing for even more like some of these populists are, which is like, we can't rest on, here we got the small win, here we got the small win.
You're doing it too now. You're doing it fucking too.
What is he doing?
What am I doing?
Because find me a Democrat in Congress that didn't think that we could do more on healthcare. Just like one single Democrat that was like, no, we're good. Like every Democrat wants more coverage. There's just different ideas about how to get there.
I think the biggest time there was a division was when like Biden was running against Sanders, and Biden was like, I actually like Obamacare, and Sanders was kind of taking the angle that it wasn't nearly enough. And I think Biden was sort of targeting Sanders as like wanting to get rid of Obamacare. I think that's like the most explicit division. But even under both of those theories, right, like Biden still wanted to do more on the Affordable Care Act. To maybe try to reconcile a point a little bit with Soypel, I think the point is largely about the sentiment and about how people hear something that is, oh, there you go. That's fixed.
Yeah, it'll overheat again soon. It's so hot.
I can't stand you, lab goats. Fuck you. Fuck yourself. I'm sorry.
Jesus,
what happened?
I have chat open. I never do that, but I'm looking at chat.
Yeah,
fuck you guys. Turn that off. Fuck you little fuckers.
The one thing I will note, though, it's important to realize that there was corporate buy-in and sort of understanding and interest groups related to the drafting of this legislation, and Obama was actively courting, the American Medical Association and insurance companies to get them on board with the agenda. So I think we can be honest about some of the roots here, and I think honesty is great from but oftentimes people will turn this into burn it all down. It's all worthless, and so I'm sensitive to both.
Sense, though? If you're crafting legislation in America as an insurance,
I'm not saying it doesn't make sense at all. No, yeah, I'm not like anti-corporate in and of itself. I just want good solutions, and I'm not an ideologue there. But I just one last thing: the insurance companies are super fucking unpopular, right? And that's I think one thing to take note of is people were celebrating the murder in the streets from both the left and the right of a man who was the head of one of these organizations. So that needs to be calculated into how you sell the policies, how much people fucking hate insurance companies.
Hutch, last question to try to wrap this up, because this is my prescription. I don't think you think I'm insane. You're when we talk about these like idiot like demonization of the Democrats, we probably agree on the people that are bad. If you look at some of these more progressive like Justice Dems who are running, and their message is bold deliverables that might not happen, right? Maybe they'll never get the votes for this, but they're running on changing the party. Do you think that's a bad narrative of like, hey, establishment Dems aren't doing enough and we want to push them further?
I think like within certain constraints, like I'm not saying you need to be total kid gloves all the time. And this is a democracy. So for the progressive people in this country that want to push the country in a progressive direction, like that's democracy. So like them trying to do that, I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. But if the framing is like they're the virtuous, uncompromising, moral like people that are fighting for, the working class, and everybody to their right are like corporate stooges who don't actually care about giving you healthcare, and they just want to enrich the executives and blah, all that stupid shit.
Yeah.
Then
if they're saying they're doing it because they're all bought out, or like, yeah, they're saying it because they're evil.
Some of
They
these
don't really care
motherfuckers
about
are
you.
though. Some of these motherfuckers
this
are.
happens sometimes, but honestly, I do think that narrative is brain rot and thought terminating. But if they're arguing, let's change the party and make them bolder and make them, push for more and more and more deliverables and not rest on the laurels, I'm fine with that. I don't.
But they want to skip a step too, though. Like the way that you get there, if you want single payer, for example, the way that you get there is by electing enough people in Congress that are going to pass that bill. But they think all like primaries are rigged and everything's bought and everything's like APAC and the court and the super PACs and all that. And there's kernels truth, which is like what gives them some legitimacy.
How about the Massey race? Can we talk about it before we leave? I don't want to end before talking about it because
let's do supers if we're going to move on to a new topic.
Sure.
We usually do those at 5. So real quick, we got to Josiah's. We got one from Taking Notes. This type of despotism will end the republic. The ability to act as an unconstrained sovereign given to a solipsistic amoeba like Trump. Wow, very verbose here. Will devour everything. Societies emerge from their constraints. So this is when we were talking.
Very optimistic. Yes, this is exactly what Hutch believes.
Correct.
Okay. Maybe Chad gave a different super chat, but he's calling whatever he said before a joke, but maybe YouTube auto-filtered it because it might have been about something to do with Supreme Court justices. So sorry about that, Chad. Taking notes again, the Supreme Court isn't required to have jurisdiction over any of these farmed up cases. Strip jurisdiction and create a randomized appeals court. What do you think about that, Pisco?
The Supreme Court isn't required to have jurisdiction over any of these farmed up cases. Strip jurisdiction, create a randomized appeals court. I don't know that. I mean, Congress can obviously make exceptions to the Supreme Court's appellate jurisdiction. Oh, interesting. So does Congress? Oh, I haven't even heard of this, right? This is devious. So you would be making essentially exceptions to the Supreme Court's appellate jurisdiction under Article 3 to be like basically everything and just make the highest court of resort some other lower federal court. That's devious as fuck. I guess you could do that, but that would be like there is certain original jurisdiction that you couldn't strip from the Supreme Court according to the Supreme Court's rule in Marbury. I don't fucking know, guys. That's a good question. These are really interesting questions. This is pushing the limits of my Fed courts knowledge.
All right. I don't know. I can't say anything about this, but if it works, it works. That's what
It's devious. It's jurisdiction stripping. It's being proposed to jurisdiction strip from the Supreme Court and make some other court over which they'll have more control.
All right, one from Super Billy here says, if the MAGA nominations for governor who aided Trump in his attempts to steal the 2020 election win in their respective states, is the 2028 election screwed? My quick take is it's not screwed, but if he puts more people in positions of power who buy into the 2020 narrative and they have, final say over certain, appointees or court cases or any of this stuff, it's going to make it a lot harder to fight back against it. And that's like the corruption that we need to be fighting against. Like these people should be excised from government completely. I know some people say every Republican that has ever supported Trump should never be able to run again. That may be a little extreme, but every Republican who's an election fucking denier, these people should never hold office ever again in their lives.
Well, I just say there's a lot of parts that go into certifying an election, and there's a board of elections, there's a secretary of state, there's, county level, precinct level. So I'm not sure a Republican governor can stop the certification of an election. And if they did, it would probably cause huge problems. And also Trump, number one, might not even be walking this earth by the time the 2028 election comes because of his health issues, and who knows what's going on there. But also he may be so cancerous that people run away from him and politically, so they may not want to do his bidding. So who knows what'll happen.
Anyone else? No tags. All right, last one here from American Analog. Canada figured out universal healthcare in 1971. 18 years later, we're congratulating Dems for the ACA, while tons of us are still struggling. Good luck courting voters saying how good you did in 2010. I mean, that's kind of the heart of what I was getting at.
I don't think that's what Hutch is saying, though. So I'll.
That's how it's perceived.
Fuck off.
Yes, I know that's how it's perceived. What Hutch is saying, but I just don't think that's what he said.
It doesn't matter if it's what he said, because I know that's not what he said.
I know.
and that's what the voters hear. That's what I'm saying.
I know that you're correct, and I know that's what he heard, but it's not what he said. I'm just saying it's not what he said.
There's so many success stories from the ACA that you never hear about. You only hear the complaint. Like, think about the millions and millions of lives that have been changed through the regulations alone that came from it. And
you know what this guy sounds like? This guy sounds like he's fucking privileged. That's what that sounds like. 50 fucking million people were expanded into Medicaid. 50 fucking million people. And you're over here calling that crumbs.
Bad.
You privileged fuck.
I will just.
Hutch, hear me out.
Hutch, he's dead. He's dead, Hutch. He's dead.
Fuck this guy, man. I hate these people.
If one person, if John McCain had decided to do something differently, that would have been gone. And that wouldn't have mattered. And so what these people are saying is, how are we going to say, look at all this amazing stuff? It's like, well, it looks like we were this close to losing fucking everything. And you're running on this like this is like it. We got it, guys. We did it. No, we didn't do it. We got a little step towards where we need to be, and we need to keep fucking fighting.
Yeah, but Hutch is insane.
Characterizing what I'm saying, bro.
You're saying. I'm saying that's how the perception of what the Democratic Party does when they run.
Because they're not listening.
Is my point.
They're not listening.
They have
I will say, wait. Can I just say something to American Analog?
Their brains are all broken.
I just want to say something to the American Analog. I think that the annoying part of your message isn't that anything you're saying is untrue, right? Like it is not. It's not untrue that people are still struggling. It's not untrue that I don't think it'll be good, like quoting voters saying how good we did in 2010. I think that the like sort of false implication of your statement is that Hutch said that any of what you said isn't untrue. Like he's not saying that. So that's all I gotta say.
Pushing for even more if they're not running on universal health care. So like they are now, by the way. But if they should be. They should be. It's just not an indication of things are good enough.
Every Democrat runs on universal health care.
Now they do. Yes. After Bernie brought it into the fucking.
No, they've been doing this for years.
Go back to the primary in 2016. That was not what every Democrat was running on.
You're conflating universal health care with Medicare for all, and they're not the same thing. Medicare for all is a way to get
they're not running on
care.
single payer, sure.
Medicare for all is a way to get to universal health care. So is an insurance model with the government filling in the gaps, which was the ACA model. And every president has run on expanding that more and more and more as we go. Yes.
But they're not running on the final goal. Not all of them, right?
Yeah, but
what is
who's not running on universal health care?
Is universal health care.
Now everyone is talking about that. Yeah, but that's not. That's what I'm saying. Is like the people want to hear. I want to get to this point eventually. Not all right, guys. Medicare subsidies for all who want it, and here's this caveat.
Why are you
like that's what I'm
Medicaid
about.
subsidies? Why are you poo-pooing that, bro?
It's not a bad thing.
We were fighting for that during the shutdown.
Fucking people.
Hold on. So I will grant you that the messaging isn't the best, but every single Democrat is fighting to see everyone in America have health care access.
And the American people trust Democrats on it. That's one of our best issues.
Yeah, like you're implying that there's Democrats out there that are okay with Americans not using our healthcare system and not having access. That's what
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the perception of the public is that if you're not doing what the more populist candidates are doing, which is like this isn't good enough and we're going to get better, that they're like, oh, so you're saying that these small changes, but people are still struggling is fine? Well, why don't you want to fight for more? And I'm saying, yes, we need these pragmatic compromises. It has to be incremental. You can't just like overhaul the system. This doesn't happen. This is a pie in the sky, Green Lantern, to quote Hutch thing. But you still need to be able to message that and say, guys, it's going to take it's a big fight. We're incrementalizing, but like, it's not good enough and we're going to keep pushing it forward. And I don't think that's coming through to most people. I understand what the motivations are. I'm not saying Democrats are like, oh, good. Ha ha ha. All these people dying. That's great. I don't care. We got enough. I'm not saying that.
But Soypel, it's up to the voters. Like if the voters want someone who
that's kind of trivial. Yeah. I mean, obviously.
Hang on. Like it's up to the voters. If they want if the voters in this country really want single payer, they will elect enough people in Congress to pass single payer.
I'm not talking about.
And if they don't, they won't. I'm saying when I say it's trivial, I just mean like it's just obviously true statement. What you're saying,
but it's not true to these people. They think like the party. It's like they think of the Democratic Party like an amorphous like blob hive mind where we just decide to do things. But it's like the makeup of the Congress is what determines the platform of the party. And so if enough people
that's I think more controversial then. If what you're saying is like the party will represent where the people are at.
For the most part, yes.
I think we're a highly divided society.
In a fucking country with 330 million people.
I will say though, from some experience, and maybe this is not anything, I sometimes feel like our Democratic leadership doesn't represent the base. I know I say that a lot, but I just think that there sometimes is this like lack of connection between what the leadership is doing and either how it's felt by the base or how it's felt by the people and what's actually happening in reality. I don't know what to make. Maybe it's all related to media spin and media structures and how people get their information. But sometimes there does seem to be a disconnect. But hopefully you're right, Hutch, and I hope that you are.
Well, there's like a big disconnect on Israel right now, for example, but that's a low salience issue for most voters. Unlike the big stuff, I do think that, like Biden was running on expanding the ACA, Bernie was running on a comprehensive transformation of our healthcare system, and Biden cleaned his clock. And so, that's democracy. And so, like, if people want, like, do the job of actually going out and getting these candidates elected to Congress, and then you can pass a bill. But
it's not fair unless AOC has 10 moderates running against her in the Democratic primary. That's what I'm telling you right now, Hutch. It's only fair if you're splitting the centrist votes. All right. Well, sorry, I said the forbidden word.
Hutch, looping this back, like, why do you think the Democrats poll so badly? Not individual Democrats, but the party. Why is the party polling so
Good
badly?
question.
The party is polling right now because they lost to fucking Donald Trump twice, and
but
when you look at any the immediate fallout after a political party loses power, their approval ratings go to absolute shit. But I think like the visceral reaction that people have to Donald Trump, because he is so profoundly corrupt and bad and dangerous and just like a threat to democracy, that just heightens that frustration. And so I get it. I understand.
Polling bad,
huh?
Despite how bad Trump is, they're still polling bad as a generic.
That scares me. That scares me. I'm going to be honest with you.
We should be at 100% approval. Like, holy shit, whatever the alternative to this fucking dipshit is, that's my party, right? And it's not.
Why?
Compared to historical precedent, like where have other parties who have been in similar positions?
Isn't this historically bad approval for Democratic Party?
And I conceded that, but I'm saying Republicans in right after the 2012 election, their approval rating was utter shit. In fact, their approval rating among their own voters was worse than it is with Democrats and our own voters right now. And so, and
they had some bad shit happen to their part. They went to some places, Hutch. They went to some dark places. I'm not saying that you're wrong. And listen, I haven't done a regression here to know the inputs and what gets a party to be unpopular in this kind of off cycle situation, but it does feel that we're not capitalizing on as much as we should on the massive decline in popularity of Donald Trump, and that concerns me a little bit. And it makes me think that these Republicans are more competitive.
Look at the election results. My question is not why, it's how. How could we prove to the American people the Democrats are so good? We're not in power. We can't do anything. All they have is memories of Kamala losing and Biden falling down.
I understand a Google search, but like, this seems like a historic low, Hutch.
He granted that. He's granted that.
Historically bad.
Yeah, but you're like compared to other historical trends, and it's like this is like this. Why isn't this the best we've ever polled? Where it's like, hey guys, like look, we're countering the worst fucking president we've had in modern history. Why are we polling better?
Out of power. We can't stop them from doing the things, and that makes people feel powerless and angry and upset. So it makes sense.
The individual Democrats who are fighting back, like the Spanbergers, like the people running for Congress that are like the Newsom. The reason they're polling well is because they're perceived as having a bolder, broader message of fighting back against this bullshit.
Because they can't. Spanberger's the governor with a blue legislature.
Hutch, when would you be concerned? I hear you, but when would you be concerned?
Power. They can't stop Donald Trump from doing the shit that.
How long would it have to go, Hutch?
About doing it is what people want to hear, and that increases your poll numbers. Where it's like, guys, we're gonna fucking put a stop to this, right?
Huh? What are you talking about?
Why, if the Democrats if we're to go even further, like, look how we're going to stop Donald Trump and like this big resounding message of fighting back, don't you think that would increase
they are numbers? Running on that, and we're fucking annihilating them. I don't give a shit, honestly, about opinion polls. I care about elections, and we're fucking demolishing these people right now.
I'm willing to bet if the Democratic Party had a campaign to give a free Dr. Pepper to every American, they would see their approval rating go up. Like that, those numbers mean nothing, dude. It's just like fantasy. Like, would you like your wife to be hotter? It's like, yeah. Sure.
You don't think these polls are meaningful? What would you have to see?
No.
Oh, okay. So then I'll ask Hutch, because listen, I agree with some of your points, historical stuff. There's dips. What would you have to see before you're going to call a 5-alarm fire or any kind of alarm? Because it does seem, I don't like to do this. If you read Candide, there's a character called Dr. Pangloss, and he says, we're in the best of all possible worlds. We're in the best of all possible worlds. Everything is fine. Do you think that there's an amount of negative approval where you'd be like, that's concerning, guys?
Sure, of course, theoretically, if it went down to 0, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? But like, what do you think is more like the polls right now are instructive for the candidates because it gives them a sense of where the base is at, and that is going to help them like craft platforms that are going to be more like catered to the voters. But that is already happening. Like, why do you think Kamala Harris is out here publicly talking about like packing the court? She's looking at the same polls that
the voter base are. Numbers up?
Huh?
Didn't that shoot her number up? I think it gave her like a bump in the polls, right?
Maybe, but she's been ahead. She's been on top of the polls this whole time.
Sure. But I'm saying that's the sort of stuff, the bolder stuff that I'm talking about, where if we're resting on the idea that like we're winning a lot of these elections, I think because how shit Donald Trump is. And we've talked about this before, but it's like, what about 4 years from now? What about 10 years from now? Like we can start thinking about that right now. And that's not getting ahead of ourselves. That's what are we doing to make sure we maintain this power past the midterms? What are we doing to make sure
why do we have to get an independent candidate in Nebraska? Did you see that whole play? It was a smart play, by the way, for the Democrats. They had to like sub in a candidate because there was a spoiler who was acting like a Democrat in Nebraska. And then they like pulled him out and they're going to like get her to resign the race or whatever. The brand is such that in Nebraska, we're not running a Democrat. And I understand, right? The brand might be bad in Nebraska, specifically in red states, but don't you think it's an issue? And it's not just us saying this. Ezra Klein has said it.
Nobody,
the great Ezra.
But who's saying, when have I ever said like, we're fine. We're good. We're permanently good. We're just going to coast from here on out.
Like, do you agree that the brand is bad? The Democratic brand is
utter shit right now. Obviously, yes.
Oh, we got some. This is an interesting. We don't get this a lot. Yeah, let's get a fight. Yeah, let's do this.
Listen, IRI is my boy. I love him. He's my boy.
Yes or no, Hutch? Yes or no?
He's just objectively wrong on this. I mean, like they do polling tests with like focus groups and policies poll 10 points less when they're framed.
Why do you care about polls? I thought you didn't care about polls.
They can be instructive, but it's not more important than actual election results. And how much do you want to bet? Are you a gambling man? How much you want to bet that the Democratic Party approval number is going to go up pretty significantly when we take back both chambers of Congress and start grilling these motherfuckers. Start impeaching these motherfuckers.
I think everyone would grant here. Yeah,
people are going to see. We're going to have power at that point, so we're going to be able to actually do things. You know,
now, Hutch, what is going to change about the Democratic brand right now versus when we're in power in the House?
Nothing. It's going to be shit until we win. Yes.
Our brand doesn't suck. But you're saying, so are you just saying public perception of our brand is negative? Okay. So then, I think we agree then because our brand is good. People just haven't seen it on display.
Well, that's what
I don't understand that, right? The brand is good when people haven't seen it.
Yes, we shouldn't change a goddamn thing. We're everything is great.
Okay. Wait. All right.
Now you are saying.
Now we are saying everything's fine. We don't change a thing. This is what I'm talking about.
I wouldn't change a goddamn thing.
Say that to a goddamn voter right now and watch them blow their fucking brains out.
No,
like, come on, that's horrible.
But the funny thing is, Hutch is right. We're gonna do the exact same thing, and we'll be in power, and they'll be like, "This is based. We like this." It's like this is what we were doing before, but we weren't in power.
Some of this is kind of like fuck the voters, because honestly a lot of voters are like, fucking do something, literally. So like fuck the voters sometimes, because like a lot of voters right now in the Democratic base are fucking screaming like, do something.
Which type of voter?
How many viral
which type of voter?
Hold on, how many viral tweets?
Which minority?
How many viral tweets have we seen from some account on Twitter? And it'll be like, Donald Trump signs a bill into law that kills the firstborn, and then like it'll be some like one of these fucking accounts, and it'll be like, fucking do something, Democrats. And there's like literally nothing they can do, and then you go back into these people's like Twitter,
and they voted for Trump.
They're like, they voted for Trump. Kamala, and fucking, I'm not supporting the Democrat. It's like, fuck these people, man. Yes.
Feckless Dems.
Yeah.
Anyway, Thomas Massey's in a race tomorrow. And I wanted
some super chats. I have some super chats.
Oh, go for it.
Well, yeah. In fact, let's override Hutch's super chat for this super chat real quick. Wait, no, for this one. Taking notes.
Fuck you. I'm doing mine.
There's two more. There's two more. Just wait.
Okay, fine.
Feckless Dem. Hold on. All right.
You feckless.
You feckless piece of shit. If I hear that word one more time, I swear to God.
Okay. Last thing from Meta. $20. Thank you. To me, it's a messaging issue. Dems can say that yes, we passed some good things, but there's still work to be done. If the last 20 years prove anything, it's that progress is slow but possible. Just don't vote MAGA Republican. I think we can all agree on that. It's a messaging issue. I'm happy we're all in consensus that like we need to message this better, but just so you know, that is a tacit admission that voters are dumb. I hope you all recognize you're all saying that right now. And I agree. Voters are stupid. They need to be led like horses to water, okay? You teach a voter to vote, and they'll vote once and never do it again. You got to tell them every time.
That's why we have a
This is the problem, guys. this conversation, that's the problem. The fact that you guys have such contempt for voters, that's the whole issue. That's why your brand
I've been on a
is so
fuck the voters
bad.
kick since like in 2015, bro.
Can I just say though, it is a pretty interesting strategy for Trump's entire reason for getting elected in 2024 to be totally discarded and thrown out the window with this Iran war. It really just does seem that he doesn't give a fuck about his prospects for winning in the midterm elections. That at once makes me like happy in the Hutch way. It does give me a little bit more concern that he might be up to some shifty little bullshit. So I want us all to keep our eyes open this week.
I disagree. I think he's just trying to enrich himself or whatever. Maybe that's the angle, but no. In the words of your debate opponent, Justice Warrior, whatever, it depends how it turns out, Pisco. Okay?
Oh,
Whether
yeah,
or not
yeah.
I think the war is a good idea or not. Okay.
That was wild.
Pathetic.
Okay,
Did
can
you
I
do your
do my
super chat
supers
touch?
real quick?
Yeah, do. Yeah.
Vishy with $2. My top 3: Kamala, Pritzker, Bashir. Also, Emma Vigeland is on the same level of bad faith as Brianna Joy Gray. Also, Hassan's pick for LA mayor has dropped in the polls.
No.
That's
crazy.
saying maybe we should not. She didn't say this. She's like, I know people who would vote for Tucker Carlson, and I can't tell people to vote for AOC. That was
wild.
insane.
I
like,
disagree with him that
no,
she's as bad
Emma
as
Vigeland. As much
She would
as
never
I think
say that.
she says some stuff sometimes, at least has like she's not a dead ender.
She just wouldn't say that.
She's not anti-electoral. Like Brianna Joy Gray is like fucking insane. So.
Vishy with $2. We need to mandate influencer disclosure now. A billionaire trying to buy elections with his ads and hiring influencers while leftists are throwing away all the morals for him is bullshit. Becerra, please, bye-bye, Steyer. Vishy with $2. The reason it's low is because there's different standards for both parties in the media, and with the general electorate, we're on two different planes right now. One side has cult-like behavior, the other doesn't. Also, swing voters exist. Hold on, 2 more. Bad Company with $5. If we agree Chris Murphy knows what he's doing, why don't we all get behind McMurrow like he did? Ooh, damn. Meta with $2.
Oh,
of course, the voters are stupid. Of course, the voters are stupid. We got Trump twice.
And now
listen, I love deferring to Chris Murphy, so I'm thinking about it, guys. I haven't announced my I haven't announced my my nomination, or sorry, my endorsement yet. I've been 2 for 2 on Senate. I endorsed Plattner and I endorsed Tallarico. And so whoever's going to get the Pisco endorsement, it really does seem to predict the winner here. So I'm thinking about it.
Risky predictions there, Pisco.
Yeah.
You guys were talking about Democratic brand, right? Well, we don't have power, and when we get power, well, then the polling's going to go up, and everyone's going to be on board, and we don't change anything.
I didn't say that!
Okay, sorry.
Why do you miss?
Guy said that. Guy said that. Guy said, why should we change anything? I said that too. Hey, did Guy or not? Yes or no? Hutch, did Guy say let's not
Guy
change
did
anything?
say that.
That's true. That's true.
Okay,
what did I say?
You said let's not change anything. Okay, but
oh yeah, I'm with Kamala. I wouldn't change it. Damn.
Well, she's changed something recently. She's talking about potentially packing the courts, so that's changed, and I think that's a good change. But why then, when Biden was in power for 4 years, did we not see that? Why do we not see this?
Why didn't we pack the court? Is that what you're asking?
No, why didn't we see this like popularity? Like, wow, we just see how good even when Dems were doing good stuff. Why didn't we see that happen? Why didn't we see that popularity surge?
Biden was a geriatric candidate. He didn't have that dog in him to be a cheerleader for his policy, and he admitted it. He said, I should have focused more on the politics.
But is that it? It's like no matter how good you do for the American populace, if you don't message it good enough because you're an old fart, then that's it. You're done.
Look at Trump. He's shining a turd. He's like, look at this amazing turd on the plane. Isn't this amazing? Look what I got from Iran. 200 or from China, 200 Boeing jets, and Boeing stock goes down. It was such a shitty deal.
Like the political dynamic in this country, and it's been this way for fucking decades, is American voters want change. They elect a new president, and then they think the president is overreaching, and then they punish them in the midterms. There's an incumbency advantage for the presidency, but their popularity typically starts ticking down like relatively shortly after they're elected.
People in office, right?
This happens
why
every presidency.
Shouldn't we then be getting these people that are cheerleaders for the Dems? They're not poo-pooing them for, like doing good things, but like, let's get a guy up there running for president saying, you know what? We fucking cut child poverty in half. That was great. And we're not fucking done until it's 100%, right? Sure. That's the kind of people that need to be up there. And it seems like we're not really getting that. And the Democratic Party doesn't have this like salience to reach the...
Can I just say one thing to that, Soypil? So that might be right in terms of messaging, but there's one aspect of what Hutch is saying that I really agree with. and that is this desire to rationalize the thought process of the electorate and the American people. If you talk to people like Cenk Uygur, they always have an explanation for why the American people reject something, accept something else, and it's always coherent, right? As though the American people are like this one unified mind, and they react predictably to different stimuli in such a way that is like follows a logical train of thought. And I view them fundamentally as, I think, unaligned with Hutch, as more capricious, as more fleeting, as more wishy-washy and fickle in general. And so I think that the messaging strategies need to take that as an assumption instead of thinking that the American people are like going to be charmed by like a coherent policy through line there.
Look at this super chat, man. I love that you brought this up, because this is someone just finding any reason at all. Just like, you give a shit about prop summaries in the fucking stupid booklet nobody reads. Fuck you, whoever did that. Thanks for your money. Go fuck yourself. You're so full of shit, man. You're the guy who gets mad about shopping carts not being put away in the little.
I do.
You don't get mad at that?
You don't get mad at that? You don't have a Larry David moment about?
God, you're a bad person. He doesn't put the.
That's crazy.
I put mine back. I put mine back. I don't give a shit if other people don't. Who cares?
You pollute shit next to the tree, don't you?
Everyone should do it, and that it's like, even though you're making the world a better place, you know that if most people did, the world would be better, and you're upset that some people don't. Shouldn't we shame those who don't put the shopping cart back? I'm not saying don't vote for them if they don't put the shopping cart back. I'm just saying it's the point of criticism.
What harm does it cause to not put?
You're inconveniencing someone else. You're
inconveniencing the Parkers.
You leave the toilet seat up, don't you, Guy?
What?
You leave the toilet seat up, huh?
No, I put it down. I'm considerate. I put my shopping cart away every time, but I couldn't care less if other people don't. It doesn't bother me.
Do you pay taxes, Guy?
No, I'm a sovereign citizen. What do you think?
Would you be upset if everyone stopped paying taxes? I think the society only works if everyone buys in to the kindness.
Okay, stop focusing on my kindness. Stop focusing on my side thing. Okay, that guy's a shithead for coming up with some bullshit reason to not support.
Wait, what's the reasoning? I don't even understand it. There's like some
shopping carts,
some ballot thing, or.
Well, I think what he's talking about is you get this booklet when you go to vote, and it has like positions pro and con on each of referendums. And I guess the attorney general, when Javier Becerra was attorney general, he wrote one or something. I have no idea.
Damn, sounds corrupt.
I've heard of that, but Soy Pill, to your point, I think there's like two angles to it. You're saying like, why aren't we seeing Democrats do more and do bigger? Well, they do in the primaries. More. They do in the primaries. That's what happens in the primaries, and then the voters choose, and then that's the person. But then also you have to consider like the electorate is going to be like drastically different sometimes, even just within a 4-year cycle. And so in 2008, the Bush administration was so unpopular because of the war and Katrina and the housing crash that enabled Obama to run on like a bold policy. And I don't give a fuck what anybody says. The ACA was a big, bold transformational policy that helped millions of people. And so like it's going to be a different opportunity depending on what's going on. Like, Hillary Clinton, she was facing an electorate that was like, much more towards the center after 8 years of Obama and a bunch of propaganda about the ACA that the Fox News was running 24/7. The electorate in 2020, that was a pretty like moderate electorate. That was a close election, and they nominated Joe Biden. I do think, again, like this is my prediction, I could be wrong about this. Like I think 2028 is like one of these special like years where I do think the Democrats are going to be in a position to like take some really big swings. And
so is Michigan the battle for the soul of the Democratic Party then? I mean, is this really where
what's that?
The front line is?
What do you mean?
Is the Michigan primary where the battle for the soul of the Democratic Party is happening?
I think the climate is so bad for Republicans that it honestly doesn't even fucking matter. Like I'm a little bit concerned that El Sayed polls like worse than McMurrow and Stevens, but I think we're going to run the board. I think we're going to
against Rogers.
Yeah, well, in most of the polls that I've seen, yes. In the head-to-heads, it's not by much. It's like he's running like 3 points behind the others. But
McMurrow is endorsed by Chris Murphy. That's all you need to know.
There you go. Enough said.
That is a very compelling point, Guy. I haven't put out my endorsement yet, but I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, but
I'm thinking very, very strongly.
But here, let me help you, Pisco, even more. Stevens is recruited by Schumer.
Oh yeah, I would never endorse Stevens. What a Schumer apologist. No, listen. Thank you, Schumer, for all the wonderful things that you've done. He recruited in Ohio, name of Sherrod Sherrod Brown? Is it Sherrod Brown?
Sherrod.
I thought it was Sherrod Brown. Yeah. And that's going to be an interesting race. Iowa looks like it's going to be a competitive primary too, right? Am I wrong about that?
Turk or something like that, right?
Yeah. So
Turek or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting ways this can all go, guys. It's a very, very interesting set of circumstances. I want to talk about the Republicans for 2 seconds before we have to end the show. I want to talk about.
Didn't say anything about China. Do we want like a 30-second China spiel?
Oh yeah, what's up with China? The visit?
I didn't pay attention to any of that, to be honest with you.
My thing is, we got nothing for a day and a half. Trump got lectured about Taiwan, and then he came home claiming you got a big deal of 200 Boeing jets, and Boeing stock went down because they were expecting 500, and China didn't even confirm it, and so Boeing stock is down. That's what a shit trip this was. How embarrassing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got from it, where, I mean, all the articles I was reading were Donald Trump like gets nothing great done and kind of escalates / doesn't ease tensions with the Taiwan thing that's absolutely going to come up in the next decade. So I'm not going to go to Taiwan anytime soon, but you know.
Pisco's point, huge primary tomorrow with Thomas Massie.
Yeah, huge.
I mean, what we saw with Cassidy was shocking. I did not think he would lose outright like that.
Really?
Third place, I thought he'd get at least to the runoff. I mean,
he got fucking mogged, bro.
Yeah, he got kicked in the nuts for sure. Yeah. But Thomas Massie's a different horse, and Kentucky's a little different. He's got that libertarian streak in him, so maybe those people don't want to get pushed around by Trump. So this could go either way. I hope he sticks around because I want him to be our Liz Cheney on the Epstein Files Select Committee when we take over the House and put him in there.
Listen, I think Thomas Massie is an insane person in many respects, but he annoys Trump, and so obviously want him to win. There will be, however, I think, a silver lining if he loses. And the fact that it's so competitive should indicate that already, which is only in my internal and, very one-sided debate against Cenk Uygur on the soul of the right-wing populist base. I mean, how important is the right-wing populist base if the avatar of the right-wing populist base as presented by Cenk gets crushed by a simple Trump endorsement and, the matter of the AIPAC funding and all the other money that's going into the race? I don't think that they'll accept it as a legitimate test of Republicans, that is to say the Cenk types, because I think that what they'll say is it's all the donors, it's AIPAC, and so the real will of the people was Thomas Massie. But I don't think that people understand how online their discussion is at times. And when we talk about this war within the right-wing coalition, a lot of that, in my view, is elite-driven. It's not really all it takes is an endorsement from Trump, and you have a senator since 2010 in Cassidy, or Massie now having a real challenge when he's held on to that seat for so long and has made such a name for himself. It's still Trump's party to this day. He controls it, and we shouldn't expect the right-wing populist base to take pressure Trump. It's the other way around.
They'll start fleeing the ship after the midterms. Like if they get absolutely murdered, I do think I don't think the entire party is going to break, but I do think you're going to start to see some pretty high profile, surprising, maybe Josh Hawley, for example, maybe even like Ted Cruz once they see the writing on the wall and Trump, because at that point, what value does Trump have? Like if we absolutely fucking murder them in these midterms.
He'll still be the president. So they're going to try, like you said, he's going to try to squeeze every little bit of what he can get on the way out. And I think they're going to try to squeeze him too. But he's going to be a lot harder when we have majorities. Yeah,
his popularity is going to dip down even worse, maybe into the 20s after these midterms, because they're going to get blown the fuck out, and it's going to be pretty brutal. So, but I don't know. Did you guys see the speaking of Senate primary races? Are you guys familiar with the creator Matt XIV? That guy on Twitter, Matt Berenstein?
Nope.
Super progressive guy. He was antagonizing McMurrow and I
was gonna say
the gay
show
guy,
it.
I don't know.
I didn't want to say it, but yes,
the super
show
gay
it.
guy.
Show it. You didn't want to say he was gay.
Well, I didn't want it. I didn't know the tasteful way to say it, but
there's nothing wrong with being gay. It's not a slur.
It just felt wrong. The gay guy,
that gay guy.
That's what he is.
But he is very super gay,
he's very flamboyantly gay.
Yeah.
I would just like to see this.
Fine.
Wow,
but
he brought
gay,
dude. Look at Anderson Cooper. He's not flamboyant.
He brought on Emma Vigeland, and they had a conversation with her, and they talked about Medicare for all for about 10 minutes, and then they talked about Israel for about 45 minutes.
Fuck yeah, dude!
And that should give you pretty strong sense of oh Jesus, he's gone.
I overheated again. I'm still here. Don't worry about it.
Oh, is your camera
I love
overheating?
talking about Israel.
It's so fucking hot in this room, guys. I need to like move to I feel like I'm in a greenhouse every time I turn these lights on. I don't know how you guys do it and look so pretty and not sweaty all the time. But my
central
camera's
AC, bro.
exploding.
We gotta hook you up.
You just gotta have some.
Yeah, someone hook me up.
refrigeration
Someone get
Portable
that
AC,
Tom
can we
Steyer talking money and get me a goddamn AC.
No, just get yourself,
Someone get
bro.
me an AC.
Literally get yourself like a USB-C powered miniature desk fan, and it helps a lot.
Well, for me it'll help, but I have a USB powered miniature fan on the back of this camera, and it still overheats. That's how hot it gets in here.
Is it the Sony A600? The one that I told
it's
you?
the one you recommended, yeah.
I don't have problems with overheating.
Well, maybe I live in a hotter area. Maybe I'm just so hot that it radiates into this room, and maybe I should just start
Where's the
something out.
clip?
Something wrong. If
soy
you have a
pill.
fan directly on the camera and it's overheating, I think there's something going on there.
I just think it's hot in here, but
Yeah, we just need that clip, bro.
I wanted to say about the Massey thing too. Like, I don't think this is bad for us on the left. Neither the Cassidy thing politically. For our country, sure, temporarily, but Cassidy could turn into a Tom Tillis, another Trump hater for the next year on his way out, and cause problems. Maybe get in the way of confirming Supreme Court justices if he's really pissed. And Thomas Massey will be there for the rest of the year too. So we might have these disaffected Republicans who are super pissed and willing to go all out. I don't know. But anyways, Trump consolidating power is good for us because his ship is sinking and these are less people showing that there's an option to be against Trump. So I think it's good for us politically.
The Iran war is really just sinking this administration like in an insane way. And there's no way out of that quandary for him. He is like firmly fucking stuck. And
he pushed out again today.
Yeah, every week it's like I was about to nuke them, but the Pakistani fucking foreign minister who I love, or the Arab Emirates emir said,
he's gonna get
"Please don't, sir."
He's gonna get down to some kid I met on the street, begged me to not do it. I said, tears in his eyes. He said, "Please." I said, "Sure, no problem."
I want to do it. They won't let me do it. No, I really am. The longer this goes on, the silver lining of every single clip of him saying, the war's over, the war's over, the war's over. And it's like, how many years? Like, I don't want it to go on for years, but if it does, that's going to look so fucking bad for these people. And it already does. So
we're hard stuck and there's no solution. Yeah, no, there's no easy solution. And he's fucked himself because unfortunately, the hardliners are not going to accept a deal that's worse than the JCPOA. Why would they? They have just gained an asset in the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, the latest I heard is that they're talking about 20 years of no enrichment or no enrichment to a certain level, but also getting to keep some and enrich a little bit, which is basically TMU JCPOA.
Yeah, where all the people are like, it has time limits, it expires. Like, yeah, that was always the deal. That was always the deal.
Also, Trump is saying they cannot have nuclear weapons. So people are saying there may be a commitment to not produce nuclear weapons. Well, that was in the first paragraph of the JCPOA, a commitment to not pursue a nuclear weapon ever.
Yeah, but did you see that? And I don't know if you guys knew this, that Obama passed that?
Yeah, true. So
it's bad.
But you're just not going to get them to give up control over the Strait of Hormuz, or if they do, it's only going to be in exchange for some massive, massive sanctions relief, even more so than was available under the JCPOA. Like, that just is a deterrent that they've exercised, and they now are able to, that's just like power. That is like absolute power, undeniable power, and that's why we're in this mess. And the longer this goes on, like the pain is already priced in. This pain is going to continue, and it's almost like slow, lagging pain that we're going to feel. And so I think he's fucked no matter what. Even if he were just to go and declare victory and leave, I think he's fucked.
We kind of already did a few times. We've totally decimated them. They have no air power. How many mission accomplished on the boats are we getting? Probably a lot. A couple more.
Quite a few. Yeah.
All right, guys. Great show. Let's plug our stuff. Pisco. What is happening this week?
Yeah. So tomorrow I'm going to be on Wick TV. This is Wick TV with Josiah, an alum of Lib and Learn. We are going to be arguing in favor of court expansion. And this will be against, I'm sorry, I'm not remembering the opposition. I know Counterpoints will be one of the people. There's another person there too. I think he's a left-leaning attorney. So interesting kind of dynamics there. But I do want to say, Josiah has been the subject of, I think, just an untrue accusation from someone, Ryan Mullally, who interpersonally, I like him. I like debating with him. but there was no collusion or anything to like not have Ryan Mullally on the show. That was just a totally like a WIC TV decision, and sometimes you get bumped, unfortunately. But I just want to put it out there that Josiah is not like manipulating or going behind the scenes to collude to keep people like off shows or whatever. And that
but I'll say it, uncalled for. If it was the case that I could exclude Ryan Mullally, I would, and I'd tell WIC to do it. So you can throw that heat at me, Ryan. I hate
but to that point, so that's Tuesday, and then in a few weeks on Modern Day Debate, we're probably going to debate Ryan and I on the very same issue. So just get ready for those and more to come too.
All right, cool. What's going on, Guy?
Nothing too exciting. My Instagram's popping off, so I encourage people follow me on Instagram if you want to get little bite-size portion of my debate content. The editor's having a lot of fun and getting some love. So
same name on Instagram. Great. I've already said that, but they're really cool. I'm really into those. So good job. Tell him good job.
He's having fun. Yeah, for sure.
Call him a good boy.
Good boy. Good boy.
Say it.
What's going on with you, Hutch?
A lot of drama. Probably covering a lot of drama. So normal streams. I'm starting earlier, 7:30 a.m. West Coast.
That's good.
All right, here's my question, Hutch. I don't know anything about the drama. Are you winning? That's all I know. All I want you to know. Are you winning?
Are you winning?
It's the funniest drama ever.
Okay. I just need to know if you are winning. That's all.
Are you winning, son? All right. And nothing on my end. I'm working on my video. I might stream this week, but I'm just I'm just cranking them out. All right, guys, we're trying. I remember when I said I was going to have 2 videos a month. Absolutely not. It's still 1. So sorry, but yeah.
But we love the videos. We love them.
But we love the videos. We love them. They're so good. They told me not to make too many videos. I said I'm not going to do it.
Wait, you got your Twitter back? Maybe announce.
I got my Twitter
back. That was
back.
huge.
That
was can't believe it. Yeah.
I can't believe it worked too. The people that told me just say the left wing hate mob canceled you. I was like, no fucking shot that worked. And it did. Totally
wild.
No. But you don't understand. It did. I sent the message on a Sunday and it passed on a Monday, which means that a human being went to work after the weekend and looked at it and was like, yeah, the left-wing hate mob canceled this guy.
It was Grok, bro. He's base. He's red-pilled.
Mecha Hitler came in clutch. I'll say that. Sometimes Hitler had some good ideas. I'm just saying Hitler had some.
Whoa.
Jesus.
Wow. Christ.
Is that actually TOS? He was a vegetarian. I'm okay with that.
That was wildly
everyone be quiet.
Yeah, wildly inappropriate.
These are
in this
the
era of anti-Semitism.
That sometimes people have good
some things
ideas,
aren't funny. Right. Some things aren't funny.
Look, I'm Jewish. I can say a guy can veto my Jew vote. He's probably more Jewish than me, but all right. Anyway,
we'll be talking
on that note.
But anyway,
yeah, guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Me in the intervention in the group chat, I guess. But have a good week, everybody. Signing off.
Bye.
All right, guys.
Bye.